We are live on a Thursday edition of the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the Twitter X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. You out there, we've got Phil's last night. Rough one, interesting game. We'll dive into it. Phil's today. We've got the lineup out already. We'll get you that in just a moment. NBA Finals tonight. You can listen on 97.3 ESPN. Did you stay up for the Stanley Cup last night there, Josh? I know you're a hockey guy. I made it all the way through about halfway of the overtime. I woke up this morning to see
Draisaitl.
The final, Edmonton, all the way back. Great third period, down 2. I'm in. You got me. You got me for a night at least.
Hey, at least one night's better. Listen, Stanley Cup, different nights than the NBA Finals.
I know.
So you can alternate.
Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Are they playing Sunday?
I thought it was Monday. I have to double check. I thought it was
A little travel day in
Wednesday,
there.
Friday,
From Edmonton
Monday.
to Florida. That's a flight.
It's the longest distance of any Stanley Cup Finals. It's 2 straight years.
Yeah, 3-1 Florida in the third. Here comes Edmonton, and they score 2 in the third.
By the way, Edmonton was first to score in that game. They scored first.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that the man who scored the first goal of the game, Mike, scored the last goal of the game.
Yeah.
Leon Draisaitl.
Well, I did watch that last night. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched most of the game.
Oilers,
I will say.
a process team.
Oilers a process team, or were they just really bad?
Well, I
know they lost a lot, but weren't they bad for a while?
They blew it up in the early 2010s, and they had multiple high lottery picks, and they got Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
Yep, they have prospered from being bad, and, it's another example of teams, hey, if you're bad, you get good draft picks. If you hit on those draft picks can turn into highly talented players. You become good. The Sixers had a great idea, and everybody else has followed them. They just did not execute it nearly as well as many of these other teams have done. Phillies tonight play Toronto, speaking of Canada. Lineup is out. Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Bohm, Castellanos, Kepler, Marsh, Marchand. Real Muto took one in the woohoos last night, and he is not able to play today. He's
that
hopeful.
made me cringe last night.
Yeah, he went down pretty hard. He went down pretty quickly, and Rob Thompson said after the game, he's hurt. He's feeling it.
Who was the Blue Jays hitter at that time? But he waved to the Phillies bench like, "You guys need to get out here." Like he was the first one to. He called the Phillies doctor too.
Yeah.
Because the Blue Jays hitter was like, you guys need to take care of your boy here. He ain't doing good.
No, so Real Muto went down. Marchand came in, and then Romano was trying to close the game out. There's a lot involved in the Romano discussion here, but I want to start with Abel, who was excellent last night again. Rob Thompson said after the game that Abel is going to be sticking around. Now, the reason he's going to be sticking around a little bit while longer is because there has been a setback with Aaron Nola that is not related to the ankle injury. He has something going on with, I guess, his side. Is that what it is?
It's in the area of his right oblique. He felt some sort of pull or strain, apparently, in his right side next to his oblique in his last bullpen session.
Yeah. So Mick Abel looks like he will at least be around. I would imagine now you're going to see Mick Abel probably up until at least the All-Star break, would be my guess. If not, I don't know. I don't want to say if not longer. The All-Star break gives you a little over a month, but you talk about an oblique in a pitcher. That's not good.
No, it's not. I think the reason why they're not overtly calling it an oblique because they're trying to say that maybe it's not the literal oblique muscle, but it's in the area of the oblique.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to minimize like the red flags or the red sirens with it.
Well, Abel pitched excellent last night. He was, again, very sharp command. No walks in the game last night. I mean, you can make a good case that he probably could have stayed in that game, and maybe they took him out a little early, although Kirkering came in the game and did a job. And really, I mean, taking him out of that game wasn't why you lost the game.
Right.
But Abel looked really good last night. Poll question up at Mike Gill Show on the Twitter X platform. Should the Phillies keeper trade Mick Abel to add either an outfielder or a bullpen arm? Easy answers. Yes, team needs help. No, have to keep them. Votes are coming in. 62% going one way, 37% going the other way. Which way are the people going? Should the Phillies trade or keep Mick Abel to add either an outfielder or a bullpen arm? Where are we at?
I mean, I know for me what my vote is going to be here, Mike.
All right, lock that vote in. I want to see it in real time here.
All right.
I want to see what happens to the poll vote there as you lock your vote in. I want to see where that kind of moves the needle to. Where are the poll answers right now?
Well, as of right now, only 39% of the people voting agree with me, Mike. I'm with the 39% that says the team needs help.
So you're saying, I don't care what I just saw from Mick Abel in his first game against Pittsburgh, against a better team and a better lineup in Toronto, you're still saying, I got to move this guy. This team has way too many holes.
This team has way too many holes, number one. Number two, let's be realistic. Mick Abel will not be in the starting rotation in the postseason. But if you get a bullpen arm that can be better than Jason Romano, that guy will pitch
Jordan Romano.
Sorry, Jordan Romano. That guy will be better. That guy will be used in the postseason.
Well, there's a couple ways to look at this. Mick Abel, you might say he's not a guy who's going to pitch in your starting rotation in this year's playoffs. But big picture, do you look at a rotation with Andrew Painter, Mick Abel, Zach Wheeler, Jesus Luzardo, Christopher Sanchez? Do you look at that rotation next year and say, look, even if we come up short this year, look at the rotation that we have moving forward? Because you might trade Abel to get a rental player. And let's say you get a player like Carlos Estevez. Closer, was having a great year last year when the Phillies got him.
Right.
He walked right out the door on you.
Well, he walked out the door because you didn't want to re-sign him. The Phillies chose Jordan Romano.
But
over
a lot of
Estevez.
times that is the case. You go out and get a rental player. You don't want to pay that guy. You need help now. So Mick Abel's a guy that you have control of long-term, could be at the top of your rotation. I mean, you could be looking at a team in 2027 that's got Painter pitching on opening day, Abel pitching game 2, maybe Zach Wheeler is at the back end of his career, but he's still pitching pretty well. But now he's the third guy with Luzardo and Sanchez. I mean, are you willing to say, hey, I'm going to send away a guy who's a top end of the rotation starter, and in exchange, I'm getting Ryan Helsley. He closes out a couple games, but he's not. Maybe he blows a game. I mean, Estevez was good last year. He wasn't great. Are you going to get a player? Are the Phillies going to get a bullpen arm better than Carlos Estevez in this year's market? I don't know about that.
Maybe they could. Maybe his name's Mason Miller.
Mason Miller didn't show that he was a definitive, the Phillies hit him around.
That's true.
His numbers this year have not given you like, hey, man, you got to go and get that guy. I mean, he has struggled a little bit this year with that team. Now,
could he be better if he was on a winning team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not to say, look, if you told me I got Mason Miller for Mick Abel, I think because Miller is a controllable guy. You have him for controllable years. He's not walking out the door. He's a different scenario. His ERA, though, is 5.49 right now with a 1.32 whip. The 5.49, you might say, hey, that's from an outing or two. You're a relief pitcher. Your ERA. His whip is 1.32. That's telling me he's having a little bit of command issues.
But again, is it because he's on a bad team
Well,
or because he's depreciating?
Yeah, but 1.32 whip, that's not being on a bad team. That's you walking guys or giving up hits. That's all whip is hits and walks.
Oh, I know what the whip is. What I'm saying is it's mental. You know how sports is. Sports are more mental than physical.
I don't know, man.
You're not buying that.
No.
You're not buying it.
I'll tell you why I'm not buying it.
Miserable on a bad team.
I'll tell you why I'm not buying it.
Pitching in Sacramento, California.
Maybe the mound there has been a little bit of an issue, but he's been on a bad team the last 2 seasons, and nobody's touched him. Last year he's on an awful team, 0.88 whip.
Hang on to that thought. I'm going to pull up his road splits. I want to see what they are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at last year. He had a 0.88 whip. He had 104 strikeouts in 65 innings pitched last year. I'll tell you his road splits right now. At home, he's got a 6.10 ERA, and on the road, he's got a 4.82 ERA. So, yes, he's been worse at home than he's been on the road, but his road numbers aren't like, see, there's a big difference there.
But you didn't bring up the whip. The whip is 1.179 on the road.
Yeah, his numbers are better I'm saying his numbers
But
are
you were
better on the
pointing
road.
to the whip. So to me, if you have a 1.45 whip at home and a 1.17 whip on the road, that clearly tells me that he don't like pitching in Sacramento.
It's a possibility. And listen, again, I'm not poo-pooing getting Mason Miller. If you told me it's Abel for Miller, I think you got to make that trade. Why?
Right.
You're giving them a controllable young arm that's a starter. You're getting the controllable young guy who's a bullpen guy. He's not a guy who's going to walk out the door. But if I'm giving up Mick Abel, now you got to start to think, am I giving him up for Ryan Helsley, that level of closer? Am I giving up for Kyle Finnegan? You might have to face Mick Abel in your division. That's not happening.
That's not happening.
David Bednar, one of those middle-of-the-road closers on bad teams. Now, Helsley's not on a bad team, but he's a name that has come up in the past.
To me, Bednar is like the I'm trying to say this delicately. Bednar is the version of telling you, don't tell me it's raining when it's something else on my head.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is definitely a lower level closer. He's been already demoted this year. But you see what I'm saying. Generally, when you make a trade for a closer, you're giving up a player for a closer on a bad team.
Right.
Those guys generally don't work out. Those guys are generally coming from a bad team. They don't get a lot of opportunities. The pressure's not there. They're pitching in half-empty ballparks all summer long. And then they come here, and it's like, oh, my God, you guys draw 40,000 people a night? Like, this wasn't
Well, that brings me to another question I have for you, Mike, which is, we've heard a lot of rumors about the Red Sox. They might be sellers at the deadline. Is a guy like Chapman, a guy who's been there, done that with some postseason teams? Is that a worthwhile guy?
Well, I'll tell you what. I saw a trade proposal. Chapman wasn't in it, but it was the Red Sox. I'm going to get to that one in just a minute. I have it up right now at 973ESPN.com. Yes, I don't know that I'm trading Mick Abel for Chapman, though. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, because Chapman walks out the door at the end of the year.
Okay. So you feel like Mick Abel is a guy after the last two starts that you look at him and say, I don't want to give up a guy who could be a long-term piece for a short-term
Keith
rental.
Law brought it up on our show last week. He said, I don't like to generally trade, top-end prospects for rentals or bullpen guys.
To me, he is, for this club, he's your sixth starter. He's the guy you call up when you need somebody, but he's not going to beat out any of the five existing guys. And if trade deadline comes along and you can get that impact left-handed reliever to replace Alvarado, and the cost is Abel and somebody much less important, I'd probably do that. As much as I hate overpaying for relievers, it's 4 years now. The command and control are not clearly getting better. And I'm a little skeptical. This first start was super exciting. I don't think that's who he really is.
Well, then his second start was also, I don't want to say super exciting, but his second start also showed where's this command coming from, because he went down to the minors after his first start and walked four guys.
Right.
So there's Keith Law saying, look, it's been 4 years. He's not commanding. Why is he commanding at the major league level and not at the AAA level? Why is he commanding in the majors, not in the minors? So the Phillies have to try to weigh this. Now, I'm not saying based on two starts, but I'm glad, you hate to wish injury on somebody, but Nola being out here, I'm glad that the Phillies are now going to get an elongated look at Mick Abel to find out. He should get 4 or 5 starts to say, hey, man, this guy looked like he has it. Now, he might have 2 great starts out of the gate, and then maybe he struggles a little bit, and then the Phillies can kind of make their decision there. But if by the All-Star break he's still pitching, look, he's going to give runs up, he's going to walk a guy here or there. But if he's showing consistency between now and the All-Star break, you probably have a tougher decision to make, or you could at least have your decision become more clear.
Right. And to me, the only reason why I'm not dead set like the 61% of the people in the poll right now at Mike Gill Show on the X platform is because of the fact that I'm like Keith Law. I know that the guy has 40 years of a track record of showing that he was not what we're seeing the last 2 starts. And I'm just wondering when a young guy comes back to the mean, when the league gets more tape on you, right?
Yeah.
They get more of a book on you. How do teams adjust? And then what's his adjustment? Because remember, before this year, he never had a major league level catcher. Well, right now in the minor leagues, Mick Abel is top 5 in almost every AAA pitching category. Who's his catcher? Garrett Stubbs. Who's his pitcher the last 2 starts in the major leagues? JT Realmuto. Maybe there is something to be said for the fact that he got a better catcher and it helped him become a better pitcher.
Well, I would say this. The catcher, yes, I would 100% agree, is a huge factor in this. Mick Abel has been at every level and has not been able to throw strikes. So bad last year that his whip, I think, was like 1.8. That's a horrendous whip.
And he had almost like an ERA of like 6 almost.
Over 6. It was like 6.90. I mean, something in that range. So he went from an almost off the 40-man candidate to now you're saying you can't trade this guy. Now, I'm not saying you can't trade him. What I'm saying is I think the Phillies now have even more to think about because I don't think you're just saying after 2 starts anyway. After 2. Now, you're not making decisions after 2.
Right.
But I think after 2 starts, the Phillies are saying, we can't trade this guy for a rental. He's too important possibly for not this year, but next year and the year after that and the year after that. We drafted him in the first round for a reason. We thought we had a top-of-the-rotation guy, and it looks like we might. You can't trade him for a Ryan Helsley or a Aroldis Chapman, somebody who's just a rental player, and he's not the elite of the elite.
So 2 things. One, Mick Abel had a 1.8 whip in 2024. This year in the minors, he has a 1.2 whip in the minors. That's a significant drop.
Big difference.
Okay? He went from having a 6.46 ERA to a 2.21 ERA.
Yeah.
Big jump. And again, this was the first year at AAA he had Garrett Stubbs. Garrett Stubbs made almost everyone on that pitching staff down there better. So that's the real reason why they demoted Stubbs, because he's actually helped the organization, and you're seeing with Mick Abel now. But the problem I have, Mike, is to your other point, which is I understand where you're coming from. You're saying that this guy could be part of the future.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm willing to trade him, but it's got to be an elite. Mason Miller, yes, it's a controllable guy. He's not walking out the door at the end of the year. I can't have a guy that I'm trading a possible ace of my staff or a number 2. Like the Phillies have Wheeler and Nola. Painter and Abel could be their next version of Wheeler and Nola. These 2 young guys together at the top of the rotation.
Let's map this out real quick. So right now, under contract moving forward, you got Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, and you're saying the potential is Painter and Mick Abel. So that's 4 men right now.
And Luzardo.
So now you have 5 starters. Where's Aaron Nola fit into this?
Good question.
Are you not re-signing Ranger Suarez this offseason?
Doesn't sound like it.
So then why don't you trade Ranger then?
I'm open to it, but I don't.
Would you trade Ranger Suarez for Aroldis Chapman? 2 free agents. 2 guys going to hit the market.
That's a tough one. By the way, so the trade I threw out there, somebody texted about it because they read the article over at 973ESPN.com. It says, Mike, can you provide more context regarding your article for Phillies trading Painter and Tait? So the article was, he says, I can't imagine you're proposing this trade, but rather just putting it out there as a rumor possibility. Yes, the trade was proposed by Bleacher Report. So the article is in reference to Jarren Duran, who apparently the Red Sox are willing to listen to.
Interesting.
Duran is a center fielder and a left fielder. He's playing left this year. Last year he played predominantly center. So he's played left and center. He bats leadoff for the Red Sox. MVP of the All-Star game last year. He is a left-handed hitter. Keep that in mind. He bats left. He plays center. The trade proposal that Bleacher Report put out there, they listed 10 teams with the best chance to land Duran if the Red Sox traded him. The Phillies were 4th on the list. The proposal was Painter and Tait for Duran. Who says no?
I don't want Duran because he's left-handed.
That's leadoff, plays left field. You're out on that.
Because, one, your center fielder of the future is going to be Justin Crawford.
Who also hits left-handed. Yeah.
Right. You already have
the one thing, and Jarren Duran, by the way, is controllable till 2028. So keep that in mind as well. You could play Duran in center field and then use Crawford as somebody you could trade.
Okay, that's an interesting
Because Duran is controllable.
Because he's controllable.
Yeah, He would not be a free agent. but he wants a contract extension. He's been an all-star, the all-star game MVP, leadoff hitter, led the league in doubles last year, led the league in triples
Very
last
good
year.
player. I know, yeah.
So would you trade Andrew Painter
No.
to get him?
No.
That was the proposed deal, Painter and Taiit.
But if you told me I'm trading Justin Crawford to get Duran, now I'm swapping.
Well, one of the reasons they're interested in trading Jaron Durant is because they don't want to sign him because they have young outfielders. So they don't need Justin Crawford.
So that's why the Taiit's in the conversation.
Correct. Would you trade Abel?
No, because again, I still have Justin Crawford. Are you?
Yeah,
gonna
but
tell
Durant
me,
makes this team right now better.
So do you not bring up Crawford this year then? Is that what you're saying?
If I get Jaron Durant, I think Jaron Durant makes more of an impact on this year's team than Crawford does, no?
100%.
Yeah.
So then your outfield then would be Kepler, Duran, Castellanos, right?
Kepler, Duran, Castellanos. Yeah, he'd probably play center.
And then
theoretically, he plays center now. And if you like Crawford, you can bring Crawford up and he move back to left. But then you're also, you would still have the lefty because Kepler would be gone.
Right.
So you're not adding another left-handed bat. You're just replacing a left-handed bat.
Okay,
yeah.
that's interesting.
So then Durant could hit leadoff, and Crawford could hit at the bottom of the lineup then.
And now you don't have to ask Stott to be a leadoff hitter anymore.
When we come back, Evan Cohen will join us from Unsportsmanlike at 3 o'clock, not when we come back. 3 o'clock hour, Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike.
Are you going to ask him about what he was saying this morning about his whole party conundrum?
Well, we're going to get into that. We're also going to be talking more about everything that's happening. NBA Finals, how much hockey is he watching? Also, we'll get into some football with him. Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike on the Sports Bash, 3 o'clock. Also, it's football at 4. Adam Kaplan will be uncovering some of the best defensive players to watch under the radar for the Eagles when training camp comes around. We're just getting started on a Sports Bash Thursday, 97.3 ESPN. I haven't heard back from him, though. All right, 229 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. Subscribe, like. What's up, everybody? It's a happy hour Thursday because I'm in a good mood today. Phillies baseball coming up at 3. We gave you the lineup today. Not quite happy hour Friday yet, but you look at what we got coming up. We got Phils today at 3 after last night. But watching Jordan Romano last night, anybody watch that game last night and the immediacy of the loss and how it happened say, we got to fix this bullpen? I mean, did you watch that game and that moment and say, we've got to do something about the bullpen? I mean, I'm watching the game. As soon as he throws the pitch, the ball's hit by Kirk, who, by the way, is built like me. So you're watching this guy thinking, how the heck is he going to get one out of here? And bang, he crushes one. Not out of the park, but hits one off the wall to right center field. And part of the Romano problem that we don't even bring into the conversation a lot of times is the fact that he can't hold anybody on base. So as soon as anybody gets on base against him, they're just taken off. He cannot hold runners on. And then immediately, if you get on base against him, you're on second, and that ends up being basically why, you get a guy drives the ball, now that's a bomb, but Guerrero singles, steals second, so you automatically have a runner in scoring position against him all the time. The irony, Jeff Hoffman gets the win, and Jordan Romano blows the save.
So how much do you think, Mike, and I'm not vacating any blame from Romano, but I am curious, how much do you think the changing of the catcher in the middle of the inning impacted?
I mean, listen, I can relate to the catching thing and say, yes, the catcher is something, but I mean, you got to get guys out, man. You got to get guys out. I mean, if JT Realmuto is down for a couple of weeks, I just can't make up every game. Well, then.
Well, no, that's a different. I mean, just in that one game. I'm saying in that one game, I don't know how harshly we judge Romano in that one game. Now, the bullpen as a whole, it absolutely needs help. But, I mean, just for last night didn't make me say, oh, the bullpen. Honestly, something else happened last night that made me more roll my eyes than that.
Listen, Romano to me, and I like the signing. He can't be the closer on this team.
No.
And no matter when he's pitching well, he pitches really well. But there's too many ups and downs.
There's too many moments where you're just like, I can't handle this guy. I cannot trust this guy.
Yeah, I don't think I trust him in big situations. I can't trust him with runners on base. I can't have a guy pitching that just can't put runners on base. Right? You just cannot he cannot put runners on base because he just can't hold anybody on. Nope. I've never seen someone at that level that just cannot hold runners on.
Is he one of the worst you've ever seen?
He's terrible, and he's slow to the plate. Now, Rob Thompson talked about it last night. He acknowledged, yeah, we're working on him. We think he's actually faster than he used to be. But that's unacceptable, that you're at this level, and he's faster than he used to be. I mean, geez, you have to have like a 0.000 whip to have any. Now, this Romano, by the way, you talk about the success that he has had in the past. He had a 0.89 whip in 2020, which means he put 0 runners on base almost every single inning. In Toronto in 2021, his whip was 1.05, which means he put 1 runner on base an inning. In 2022, his whip was 1.02, which means he put only his whips were so good that he wasn't putting runners on base hardly. Now you're putting 1.6 runners on base per inning. You can't do it. He just cannot be trusted as the guy with the ball in his hands at the end of the game. Got a lot of text messages here. 609-403-0973. Dave from Smithville. Mick Abel again, but no run support. Hopefully he stays in the rotation. Dave, it sounds like he is staying in the rotation for at least, I would imagine, about a month. At least until, because Nola's had a setback. So that will keep him in there for about a month, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that you are going to see Abel until the end of the month, and then probably by then we'll have more information on Nola.
Guys, got to keep Abel, move Nola. That's from Bobby. Nola's not getting moved.
You can't move Nola in
his
that
contract is too big.
Come on, Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby. Come on, Bobby.
You're better than that, Bobby.
Totally agree with you, Mike. Only trading Abel for Miller. I want that killer rotation in 2 years potentially. Don't want to trade a possible number 2 in the rotation for a bullpen piece. Hence, why I think their best shot is going to be piggybacking the starters in the playoffs. The piggybacking thing I don't see as an option or even something that they would look into. The other thing with so, Bobby, I would ask you this, or Jeff, excuse me. You said you want that killer rotation in 2 years. Are you writing this year off as if you cannot win a World Series, so don't go for it? That's what it sounds like. I want that killer rotation in 2 years potentially.
What about this year?
He's saying don't want to trade a possible number 2 for a bullpen piece. So you're basically saying keep the guy, don't try to upgrade the bullpen if it means I got to trade that guy.
See, my other problem with this is people keep saying, and not specifically you, Mike, but I keep hearing people say this is a top of the rotation guy. In order for him to be a top of the rotation guy, what you're saying is that Christopher Sanchez is what now? You're 3? Are you devaluing?
Isn't he your 3 anyway? Right now,
I think he's pitched well enough that he could eventually be your 2.
Well, Luzardo. I mean,
Luzardo's pitching great.
Right, I'm saying you got Wheeler.
That's why I said earlier. I said map out the Phillies rotation next year.
Painter.
Wheeler
will be at the top of the. Listen, I had questions about when is Wheeler not going to be the Wheeler that we know. It hasn't happened this year yet. It has not happened. He's still pitching at that high level. So Wheeler,
Painter,
Luzardo. I mean,
Luzardo.
he's pitching tonight now. We'll see how he bounces back.
Right.
Wheeler, Luzardo, Painter,
Sanchez.
Now, there's a lot of people, by the way, Painter did pitch last night, and he wasn't great.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the conversation that we have had. It was, what's his name? Keith Law. He talked about that he didn't think that Painter is going to be ready even potentially this year.
With Painter specifically, he is still building back up from Tommy John surgery. He missed 2 years, basically. And so I would not want him to come up and take a regular turn in a contending rotation because he's not built up for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He is going to be maybe a 5-inning starter at this point. I wrote a piece a week ago. They got him working on his slider, which is fine, but it's like his 3rd or 4th best pitch right now. And that is not going to be a huge weapon for him coming up.
So if you watched the game last night, Painter threw more sliders than he did fastballs. And someone was like, this guy's throwing 98 miles an hour. Why would he do that? I think that kind of tells you. They want him to work on his slider because they don't think it's major league ready yet.
Yeah. But if he's good to go next year, that's why I'm projecting ahead. The guy said 2 years down the road. Okay, well, let's just go to next year. All right? Wheeler, Luzardo, Sanchez, Painter. Let's say that's your 4. Abel's your 5. What happens to Nola?
Yeah, Nola's in the mix for 6 more years, so yeah.
And also, are you just forfeiting on trying to bring back Ranger Suarez? Is that what you're doing, Bobby?
I think so. And somebody mentioned that Suarez doesn't have any trade value. I don't agree with that. The problem with trading Ranger, it's a tough situation because normally when you trade a guy, you're trading for the free agent.
Right.
You're going for the rental. So now Ranger is the rental. How many contending teams are trading the rental away? That you don't see too often. A couple more texts. Mike, I don't think they can trade Abel unless you're getting a high-quality outfielder. If the Angels are willing to move off Trout or something in that realm, Trout's not happening. Especially, I don't think Mick Abel is enough to get a deal like that done.
I mean, well, it depends on what the Angels think of Trout at this point. Like, do they still value him as the centerpiece of that organization, or are they starting to look at some of the young guys?
Well, I mean, I think they would move him. I think teams are not interested in his contract. You would have to have them eat so much of the money. Do the Angels want to pay to get rid of him, or just keep paying him and try to keep prospering off of him?
Right. Like, for example, if you're an organization like the Angels, and I'm just throwing this out as an example, if the Phillies call and you say, look, this is what we're looking for, XYZ position, and the Angels say, if you give us, I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying they're going to do this, but let's say they say, look, you give us Crawford, we'll give you Trout. but we'll take a chunk of the Trout salary.
Either way, L.A. has to pay Trout
Right.
salary. You can't pay that salary. It's ridiculous.
Right. It's just a matter of what are the Angels willing to
And
take?
the Phillies cannot take on another aging, injured player. It's like the Sixers signing Paul George. Seriously,
Who also played in LA.
Yeah, it's funny. The Sixer fans will complain that the Phillies, that the Sixers signed Paul George. You knew this guy was hurt all the time. What are you doing? And then in the next breath, we'll say you got to trade for a guy who's hurt all the time.
Yeah.
Trey in Minatola says Suarez is a free agent. I'm trading him and bringing Painter and Abel up in the postseason to relieve 2 live arms in the bullpen late. Trey, I see no scenario where Painter is in the bullpen, minimal scenario where Abel pitches in the bullpen. I mean, you got to understand, these guys have never pitched in the bullpen ever. Painter's coming off Tommy John surgery. They've been handling him with kid gloves to begin with. I can't believe they're going to say, hey, man, you've never pitched out of the bullpen. We've been pitching you every 6 days. You want to pitch on back-to-back days now? I don't see that as a possibility. I could be wrong. I'm just saying that's my opinion.
To me, I'm starting to come to the Keith Law side of the conversation, Mike. I don't even know if we see Painter up this year. I think that's why Dombrowski kind of like backed off when he was with John Heyman and Joe Sherman. I think that there's a reason why Dombrowski backed off that thing a little bit.
Couple more texts. Cole from LBI says, I think you got to be frustrated at Dombrowski for his roster construction. I was a huge proponent of upgrading SP2, but you don't spend that much resources on starting pitching after paying Nola and already having Wheeler, Sanchez, Suarez, and Painter on the horizon. Between Nola and Turner, the Phillies have the second and third worst contracts in baseball. Yikes. Yeah. The Turner contract, not a fan of it. He's played pretty well this year offensively. His defense is a big issue. Nola, I mean, this is the first time Nola's ever been injured in his life. You know, realistically, I don't remember him ever really missing
He
any
had one
time.
other injury year, but that was a while ago. I think that was like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. I know they're paying for his durability, really. And then, of course, he gets hurt. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Mike, you had Bob or another contributor on recently who said they would not trade for Mason, pointing out he had a great rookie year, but for whatever reason is not the dominant guy people thought. Interesting take when considering trading Abel for him. Well, Mason Miller, I mean, his numbers last year, he had a 0.88 whip. The guy throws 102 miles an hour. His stuff is just off the charts. He's pitching on a bad team, in a bad stadium, in a bad situation. Your hope is, look, this kid is a young, controllable arm who could be a dominant piece of your bullpen for multiple years, where looking for bullpen help at the back end no longer becomes a problem. But I will say, bullpen guys are volatile. I mean, they are up and down and all around. It's very few of them that you can say, that's the guy. He closes out games no matter what. So, yes, if Abel's as good as he looks, moving him for a closer is tough. But good teams need closers. Bad teams do not. You know, if you're a team that doesn't have a closer, when the Phillies won the World Series in 2008, they didn't just have a closer. They had a guy save every single game of the season, 48 for 48. If he blows 3 saves, what happens to the Phillies?
You don't win the World Series.
He was 8 for 8 in the playoffs. If he blows 2 saves in the playoffs, you have, if you're a good team, you got to be able. Look, I go back to a team in, I believe it was 2015, the Kansas City Royals.
Oh, yes.
Think about this, people.
Bullpen.
Think about this comment I'm going to make. The Kansas City Royals have won a World Series within the last 10 years. The Kansas City Royals. I mean, that would be like saying the Pittsburgh Pirates have won a World Series, the Colorado Rockies have won a World Series, the Seattle Mariners have won the freaking Royals won a World Series. Why? Every single guy in that bullpen was nasty. You got to have it. You got to have it. Got to have it, got to have it, got to have it. The Phillies do not have it.
They went to the World Series back-to-back years because of that bullpen. That wasn't just a one-hit wonder, Mike. That was a 2-year run where they got to the World Series 2 straight years because they had the best bullpen in baseball.
Mike, what do you think about a Mullins for one of your young guys? We talked about him a couple weeks ago. He's a left-handed bat. He's a tough fit for this lineup. That's all. I mean, he's a good player. Just batting left-handed, man. Anybody that hits left-handed is tough.
I'm taking Duran 10 times out of 10 over Mullins.
Well, you're giving up more to get Duran.
Doesn't matter.
I just told you what the trade was, Andrew Painter.
I'm not trading Painter.
Then you're not getting Duran. I mean, this is what do you? I mean, you getting Mullins for cheaper, or you getting Duran? You said Duran. I told you what you had to give up to get Duran. Then you just said I'm not giving that up.
Yeah, but are we really sure that's what you have to give up to get Painter?
I'm just giving you the trade that was presented. Now, what are you giving up to get Duran? And do the Red Sox say I don't want that trade? I want Painter. I'm giving you the MVP of the All-Star game. You're going to give me some second-rate guy?
No, I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that. You mentioned Tate, for example.
I don't want a Steven Ventnor trade. I want a real trade. Give me a trade that makes sense, and I'll tell you whether it makes sense or not.
Mick Abel.
I don't know what anybody thinks of Abel now. If you told me that trade 3 weeks ago, the Red Sox would laugh at you. Now he had 2 starts. I don't know. Does a baseball executive change his opinion based on 2 starts?
Well, to me, if you're telling me that Mick Abel and Tate together doesn't start a conversation for a Duran, then the Red Sox are not serious.
I mean, I think they would listen, but I don't know that they might be. Look, they're not. We don't even know that they're hardcore trying to get him. They have him under team control till 2028.
Right.
So they might not be saying, they're like, I'll listen.
Well, that's
but
why
I don't have to give this guy away unless I get what I want.
Well, that's why your article in 97.3 ESPN.com was the first time I had heard of Duran even being considered. All the names I have heard are guys like Bregman and Chapman potentially as trade pieces. That was the first time I heard of even Duran as maybe rumored to be anything.
Yeah, that was from Sean McAdams, who covers the Red Sox for one of the Boston newspapers, and Jeff Passan, by the way. So it's out there that they would listen, but they're in control. They have him under team control. I'll listen, but if I don't get what I want, then I'm not giving them to you. So I want Andrew Painter. You want to trade him to me?
Nope.
All right, then you're getting Cedric Mullins. That's your backup plan. You want plan B? Go to plan B. See how that goes. I mean, these are the decisions you have to make.
Can we trade off for Austin Hayes again?
Well, I'm sure he's available. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike joins us at 3 o'clock today. What to do with this Phillies team? They'll start in about 15 minutes. We'll get you up to date all throughout the game. Live updates if you're watching on the YouTube and on the X platform. The scroll at the bottom will have scores and updates and highlights. And we got you here with plenty of conversation on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. 2:52, 8 minutes. Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike. Don't forget, tomorrow we're live at the ShopRite LPGA Classic. We will be there outside of McGettigan's 19th hole. Stop out if you're going to the LPGA. Come on by, say hello. We'll be there for the whole show tomorrow. Every Friday during the LPGA weekend, we are live right outside hole number 1, the entrance of the ShopRite LPGA Classic. Josh will have Joanna Coe on tonight, who is an Oakcrest grad. She qualified for the tournament. She'll tee off tomorrow.
15 years, Mike, after she qualified for the tournament for the first time. She's back. And she shot a 3 under on Monday.
3 under? I have never come close to that. In fact, I'm not even close to 3 over.
I'm not close either, so it's okay.
I'll update the poll question for you at Mike Gill Show. Let's take a look at how people are voting after Mick Abel's start last night. Should the Phillies trade or keep Mick Abel to either add an outfielder or a bullpen arm? It's pretty close. 54% no, you have to keep him. 45% say yes, the team needs help.
I've been recruiting people to my side of the argument here, Mike.
Do it. Get people on board. I don't know.
asset.
I'm torn now. Before I was like, listen, you got to move him. You got to get help. You got to get something for this bullpen. And then watching last night, watching the Jordan Romano meltdown again, I can't trust him. I don't care how good he pitches. Like Jeff Hoffman last year was excellent all year long. He barely had a lull in his season. And you got to the playoffs and I could trust him. I can't trust Jordan Romano. The problem is I don't think I could trust Jordan Romano in any role. He's just too erratic, man. And I like his stuff. When his slider's working, he just too much, man. Too much. When we come back, we got a lot on the table. Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings at 6 right here on 97.3 ESPN. He's going to jump onto the show, get his thoughts on the NBA Finals. The NBA, is it changing before our very eyes? Plus, he's a Miami guy. Is Florida a hockey state now? 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals have been represented. Winners, I should say, have been represented by the state of Florida. That's coming up. Stick around. All right, 3 o'clock, Sports Bash Live. It's a Thursday show, so we got a lot of fun to go. We got an afternoon ball game today, Phils and Blue Jays. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day as the Phils will send Jesus Luzardo to the mound today. We got our unsportsmanlike moment of the day coming up in about 45 minutes with a good debate from the guys and gal this morning right here on 97.3 ESPN. One of the guys who is the host of Unsportsmanlike right here on 97.3 ESPN. You can check him and the crew out weekday mornings at 6 a.m. on 97.3 ESPN. That's Evan Cohen, and he joins me now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. I think it's been since the Super Bowl that I've had you on, so I figured with the NBA Finals getting ready tonight, we would have you back here on a big event. What's happening, man?
I thought we broke up, but I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out what the breakup was. We haven't talked in forever, all of a sudden, it feels like. And I'm like, what are we beefing about? I was kind of right about the Sixers. You were right about the Eagles. And I'm like, all right, so we can acknowledge that, and then we move on. I don't know what happened there, Mike.
Well, it's been a little lull. We got NBA Finals starting tonight. I figure with the big event, we have a big event guy. Evan Cohen is back here. You got Pacers, you got Oklahoma City, and ESPN probably hates it.
I haven't felt that. I mean, honestly, here's the thing, because I was in the same exact position, and I apologize, my voice is a little shot, but I did local radio in West Palm Beach, Florida for 20 years, and before I worked at ESPN. And I used to have this thought process of, ESPN wants this, ESPN wants that. Since I've been there almost 2 years, I have never once had what you just said actually happen of any note going out hey, even though it's OKC Indy, can you talk about the Lakers? Or, there's a Cowboys angle you could bring up. That has never happened at all. The only thing we ever get asked to do, which I think is the right thing, and I would ask people to do it, you ask people to do it, is hey, we got this cool thing going on at ESPN that's promoted, right? So I have not felt any kind of big market bias or frustration that it's this matchup. Honestly.
Do you believe Adam Silver that they don't mind this? Because he talked in depth about how, no, we created a system where we actually want this. We created a CBA that can give these middle market. He said, we want to be like the Super Bowl, where if you said Green Bay was playing Pittsburgh, that doesn't matter. They're two small markets. Is that what the NBA is kind of going towards?
Yeah, I saw he said that on Fox Sports, I guess yesterday or the day before. And that's a great get by them to have Silver on to say that stuff. I think it's a really smart comp by him to say, hey, would anybody complain about the Packers and the Steelers? The problem is, and I love the NBA, you know that. The problem is I don't think we can compare the NFL to anything other than European soccer. I think, if you're in Italy or London or Spain and you're talking about soccer, that is equivalent to us talking about the NFL in the United States. I don't think the NBA is close to that. So I think that what the reality is, I think that we need to, in every sport non-NBA, sell the brands. And I think the exciting part about this is that Oklahoma City specifically, I think, has a chance to become a big brand team, just not yet. So if they win this year, if Shea wins MVP in the finals, and if they come back next year and they're back in the finals, they become in some ways, not as big of a market, obviously, but they become in some ways what the Warriors were. Because, you and I both know, the Warriors, for how many years prior to that, they were nothing. And, we never thought about the Warriors, ever.
Oh, listen, my growing up, the Warriors you had the Mitch Richmond Run TMC teams, but they weren't anything special. It was just a cool little, nickname that they had for that team. It's funny, though. It's
and
Green
think about
Bay.
It now, Mike, just quick slip in on that. Think about it now. So you're talking to an audience in Atlantic City, in the Philadelphia area, okay? The South Jersey, Philly area. Every single person in your audience has an opinion on the Eagles. Every single person in your audience has an opinion on the Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers. I would say close to 80% of your audience has an opinion on the Golden State Warriors. There's no relevance to the market. It's not like their best players are from AC or Philly. And that's my overall point, is maybe in 2 or 3 years, we'll get to that 80%, maybe 80% high. 60% of your audience that will have an opinion on the Thunder. It's just not today.
Yeah. Well, the Thunder, right. Well, at one point, the reason the Green Bay Packers are the Green Bay Packers is because, 70 years ago, they were something that has carried and stood the test of time. This
Right.
Oklahoma City run could be the run that 40 years from now, Oklahoma City is viewed way differently.
100%. 100%. We're just in the first year of that.
Yes.
So, and if it's the only year of that, then it is not.
It will not be. It
Right.
will not be. This team's going to be
agree
good
with
for
you.
20 years.
By the way, to your football team in your area. So if the Eagles only won, well, I guess it's a different team. Like if the Eagles got to the Super Bowl with Hurts, I was going to bring up the Philly special. If they got to the Super Bowl with Hurts and Sirianni the first time and lost, they never got back there. Nationally relevant because of football, but brand-wise, that group falls by the wayside. Now, I could go back on in West Palm today, do an Eagles topic, and people would care about it. I go on in Wisconsin where I went to school all the time, and like the Eagles come up because they're the comp to the Packers, right? Like the Eagles have become a big thing, not because they're Super Bowl champs, but they've done it now over multiple years. So that's my thing. What if possibly the Thunder do it over multiple years?
All right, Evan Cohen on Sportsmanlike weekday mornings, 6 a.m., 97.3 ESPN. You can hear the show. What do we think about the Pacers? Is this a team that's here to stay? Obviously, the Sixers people are so down on them and feel like, hey, you're miles away. Are the Pacers a team that you're miles away from the East? Is this a one-year blip for them? I mean, it's funny because they won the in-season tournament. We look at that tournament differently now because they won that. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They went back. Now they're in the finals. Like this little 2-year window of Indiana, are they here to stay?
So, yes. Does that mean championships? Maybe not. Maybe they resemble the old Indiana teams times two. The Reggie Miller teams that got to a final were seemingly there with you and I growing up right around that time, in our prime as youth in sports for – it felt like 10 years. It probably wasn't 10 years, but it felt like they were good for 10 years.
Yeah, like the Utah Jazz or the Portland
100%.
Trailblazers.
100%. Great comp. And then you have another run with the Paul George, Roy Hibbert, Roy Hibbert, by the way, was on with us the other day, was unbelievable, and he used to be an assistant with the sixth player development guy, the Sixers. I don't know if they sent you the audio. I got to get you the audio. He was unbelievable on Embiid. Unbelievable. I got to get you
I did not hear the audio. No, you got to get it to us.
I will get you that. I'm telling you, you will love this. So they could be like that. We're like, hey, that team had a 4 or 5 year run, or 3 or 4 maybe competing with LeBron, Reggie Miller team. Maybe they become like this. But I want to go on a soapbox since I'm on with you about something. Do you realize how much more accomplished Kevin Pritchard, the executive, is with the Pacers than Daryl Morey? You realize how Tyrese Halliburton has already led his team to play.
Okay, let me ask you something about this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
If I asked you at the beginning of the season or in the last 2 seasons, would you take Tyrese Halliburton or Tyrese Maxey? How would that answer have gone prior to this run?
Tyrese Maxey.
Right? Now, those are 2 guys in the same draft class. One guy, Halliburton's 26. The other guy, Maxey's 25. We keep asking, or I've been asking my listeners, can Maxey make that leap? Is there a leap to make? Are they similar? Or is Halliburton just so much better of a player than Maxey, and we were foolish for even putting him in the same sentence?
No, I think the answer to Halliburton versus Maxey, the right answer is yes. That's the right answer. Like, if you have either one of them, you're in good shape. I will say I believe Halliburton has this it factor of people on his team really do believe in him to lead. And I think the difference here, and I don't believe this to be Embiid's fault, the difference is there's no one standing in Halliburton's way. Siakam came to his team. Turner is a great role player. Nembhard, great role player. You have to remember, not that you don't, but I'm just saying this, Tyrese Maxey was drafted to Joel Embiid's team. If you want Tyrese Maxey to beat Tyrese Halliburton, he can't have Embiid on his team.
I would
not a knock on Embiid. It's a knock.
No, I know. I understand what you're saying, but and so like you talk about Morey, and there's half my audience hates the guy, the other half is kind of indifferent right now, and there are people out there that think he's done a good job. What do you make of that? He had said before, this is the first losing season I've ever had. He's been an executive like 20 years. He's got 19 winning seasons. This is his first losing season ever. He's been to those 2 Western Conference Finals. Those Rocket teams, fell short against one of the best teams of all time. They have them down 3-1. Chris Paul gets hurt. Is this guy overrated? And like I'm somebody who's a kind of like a Morey. I say, hey, I think he's done a pretty good job with this team. You're clutching your head.
Exactly. He is so here's what it is. He has amazing relationships in the media. Amazing. I'm not one of them. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. But he has amazing relationships in the media. What I don't understand is, why do we listen to what he says about himself? He makes himself out to be like the greatest general manager of all time. That's like me coming on with you or on Sportsmanlike and be like, I've actually had more time on ESPN than Howard Stern. Oh, yeah, sure, that's like kind of true, but are you out of your mind? Howard Stern's the greatest radio host of all time. Like, Daryl Morey thinks he's like the greatest general manager in the league, right? The comments he made, on your weekend spotlight that you do, a little weekend moonlighting, I should say, your other spot, the comments he made over there are so ridiculous that, I've never had a losing season and I've had more success than basically anyone out there. No, you haven't. Like, you just haven't. He's never been to the conference finals twice in a row. This Indiana Pacers run we are currently in, that you question whether or not they're a big-time run, is more successful than any back-to-back run that Daryl Morey has ever had in his career. Think about that.
Listen, I actually was surprised because I said, look, the guy's been to 2 Western Conference Finals. He had those Rockets teams that just kept, getting beat by the Warriors. I mean, if it's not for the Warriors, never back to back. They had a run there where they had like 65 wins, 58 wins. I mean, they had some pretty good teams in that run. And by the way, I was not a fan because I just don't like James Harden as my number 1 player. So I didn't even like the way that he put those teams together. But like, you got to give him credit. They won a lot of games over that little span. To never have one losing season, I was surprised when I said, man, this guy's never had a team that had a losing record. But I guess the problem is I think he's done a good job of getting the peripheral players for this team. The problem is his stars have now let him down.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to trade Embiid this offseason?
I don't think anybody would want him. Do you? Like, if you were talking to any of your NBA guys, would any one of them say, yes, there's a team that will call the Sixers interested in Joel Embiid? Is that deal anywhere on the table? I can't imagine until he steps on the court and shows that he can get up and down that floor and play the first half of a season. No, who's calling the Sixers? I don't even know that they can get an offer for George. Do you?
Yeah, I think they can on both.
Really?
Yeah, so let me play this out for you. Give me a team or two. Obviously, I'm not going to, in AC/Philly, go too deep on non-Philly stuff. But give me a team or two around the NBA that you feel like they ain't bad, but they're also in no man's land. Just give me a team or two.
They're not bad, but they're in no man's land. You would say, how about that's a good question. How about right now the Bucks are in a weird spot. Okay. I mean, they're not bad, but they're in kind of in no man's land. The Heat aren't bad. They're in no man's land, kind of. The Hawks would be in that spot.
You're giving me great examples. So let me ask you a question. If I said to Daryl Morey, I'm going to give you an extra first-round pick in 2031, and I'm going to trade you Damian Lillard, and you're going to give me Joel Embiid. Damian Lillard won't play a game next year. Or I'm going to give you Damian Lillard in a first for Paul George.
I don't know, man.
Okay. If I said to you, I'm going to give you Andrew Wiggins.
Yep, Wiggins.
Who's got one more year on his deal after this year.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Rozier is an expiring contract. And Duncan Robinson, who you can cut upon arrival and cut $10 million. He goes from 19 down to 9 on a non-guarantee. And you're going to give me Joel Embiid.
You think Miami would make that move?
I think they should make that move in about 2 seconds.
Wow. I mean.
And here's why. Here's why. How do you hit the upside of what he could be without giving up any of your core pieces? So what I'm saying is, I do wonder this offseason, does anyone try to buy low on those two guys?
Well, and I've talked about this because my childhood, I watched the Sixers trade Charles Barkley for Jeff Hornacek, Tim Perry, and Andrew Lang.
Tim Perry had the worst dunk contest performance I've ever seen in my life.
But you can't make that kind of trade because that trade is the anti-everything. You don't want to be stuck in the middle, and that trade is, hey, we got 3 mediocre players, and all that does is get us to 45 wins, which is exactly where you don't want to be. It's like you just said it. If you're the Sixers, we've swung with these two guys. We just got to take a swing with them and hope they're healthy. Because if we trade them off, all we are is 45-win team. And nobody wants to be a 45-win team. Right?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. By the way, there's reports right now that the NFL Network is reporting that Aaron Rodgers says he's going to fly to Pittsburgh on Friday and sign before minicamp.
Why would the Steelers need to go down that road? Why would they do this to themselves?
I don't know. I mean, well, they were already so far down the road, Mike. At this point, they were so far down the road that they had no choice. There was no turning back. And this seems like this was the plan all along, obviously. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound distracted.
No, it was their plan, but it's like, are they really a Super Bowl team? Do they think that Aaron Rodgers, a playoff team that Aaron Rodgers makes them a Super Bowl team? Why would you want this drama? This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. No drama-free zone.
Well, it's too late now, but here's the question I would have. Does this become the first losing season in the history of Mike Tomlin's career with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback?
It would be apropos, wouldn't it, for him to go out that way? Hey, man, you were the only quarterback that had a losing season for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hodges had a winning season. Mason Rudolph had a winning season.
Hodges, good pull, man.
Kenny Pickett, all of these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Fields and Wilson last year, and obviously they're more accomplished. But you get what I'm saying. Like, all these guys had at least 500 or better, and imagine if Aaron Rodgers has the first season for the Steelers. Can
the Heat include Duck Hodges in the trade for Joel Embiid?
No, but you okay, so back to that for a second. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, I do. And I'd say if I'm the Sixers, I'd probably say I'll just take the swing myself.
Interesting. See, but that goes back to defeating the purpose of your initial question. You, as you always do, you have great angles and great topics, and you localize it to your area, and it's a brilliant take by you. When doing the Tyrese comparison, Halliburton versus Maxey, and I said to you, the only way Maxey can reach Halliburton's status is if he's clearly the best player and the face of the franchise. He cannot be the face of the franchise if Embiid is there. He can be the best. Like, George could stay with him. Embiid cannot. George got there after.
Yeah.
Embiid got there first. This is still – Joel Embiid could play 0 games this year, and it's still his team.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. They really are. But the question is, hey, if I told you, Evan Cohen, I know that Joel Embiid and Paul George are going to be healthy the whole season, and they're going to play in the playoffs and be healthy with Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain. They have the 3rd pick of the draft. Are they in the mix next year, or are they too much of a disaster like they were? I mean, this year, the only reason they're bad is they threw in the towel. But if I just say those guys are healthy, they're playing, are they in the pantheon of the East right now as constructed?
No, because I cannot believe that a Daryl Morey, Joel Embiid-led team together in Philadelphia can be successful. Because I don't think Joel Embiid – this is one of our big fights, you and I. I don't believe Joel Embiid knows how to win, to no fault of his own. Your argument to me was put him on the Olympic team, because you didn't argue my point that he hasn't seen what winning actually looks like. Your counter all summer to me is get him around those guys.
I love how you remember these things.
Well, what do you mean? Why would I not?
I'm sure that I'm just saying that was a while ago. The fact that you remember that I said that.
It was a great argument that you made. The problem is he wasn't that good in the Olympics.
No, he wasn't. That all backfired. He didn't learn anything, and he got hurt.
Put him in Miami. Put him in Milwaukee. Let him see what it looks like a little bit.
I'm glad you want him, though. I want to get a couple quickies here. I want to hear your thoughts on Thibodeau and what happened there and why you think maybe that was a good move by the Knicks.
Yeah, so I'm going to contradict myself a little bit, but let me explain myself. So I said, and I felt in the moment, that simultaneously Tom Thibodeau deserved to be back with the Knicks, and I never thought he was going to lead them to a championship. which makes no sense. So then why would you want the guy back?
No, that's a fair take. I can understand what you're saying. I had said he didn't get fired because they said, this is your fault, you're a bad coach. I think the Knicks are seeing what Miles Turner said. Turner was great. They said, you've been here for 10 years. Did you see this coming? He says, this is the NBA now. The super teams are done. It's young, it's run, it's defend, it's be friends. And the Knicks said, you're not a bad coach, but the league is changing right before our very eyes, and you're not evolving with the league. We got to move on from you, man. I mean, and I think that's what the Knicks said. I give them credit for saying, you are a coach from an era that has gone by. The new era is happening. The LeBrons, the Currys, the KDs, the Kawhis, you're getting knocked out in the first round. These new guys are winning, and the old coaches got to go.
Yeah, and I think that the more I've thought about it, the more I actually think the Knicks may have made the right move, because I don't know that he would have gotten them over the hump.
I agree with that. Evan Cohen, we got the unsportsmanlike debate of the day coming up, but my producer said he heard you this morning about a problem that you have that he thinks he has a solution on for your big shindig coming up. So, producer Josh, what do you got for Evan Cohen? He was listening this morning when you guys were discussing this.
So I was absolutely riveted by your back and forth with Candy and Michelle and then Nuno randomly popping in, Evan. So for your hibachi party coming up, I have a 4-step solution for your concerns.
Now,
okay?
Josh overthinks everything. Just be prepared.
Well, so do I. So this is good. We'll work well together.
So number 1, make a list of everyone you would consider inviting. Don't think about who you just make a whole list. Type it up so you got all of them listed, all right?
Okay.
After you make the list, step 2, start eliminating people based on who you don't communicate with or see weekly. Because now you're eliminating.
Why would they be on the list to begin with?
Well, because maybe there's people he hasn't seen in a while and he wants to invite them.
Okay.
No, what Josh is saying makes sense, because to take people a little bit further behind the scenes, we do the show from the on-air part of it out of New York, but the behind-the-scenes TV and radio is out of Bristol, Connecticut.
Right.
So I don't see them all the time, a lot of that crew.
Right. So you don't see them, so you're less likely to have that kind of awkward moment where you're like, oh, I didn't invite you kind of deal.
Right.
The third step, though, is the most important step, Evan. Once you eliminate people, you got to count up all the guests and then ask your wife, is this too many people for this party?
Oh, wow. You want me to blame my wife. Interesting move, okay?
Well, not blame her, but you get permission before you start inviting whatever number is. Let's say it's 50 people you end up with.
I blame my wife.
You're like, hey, is 50 okay? Do you mind 50 people showing up at the house?
Right. Okay. We're on to something.
And 4.
And number 4, you must require every guest BYOB if they show up.
So, okay, here's the problem with that. Well, a couple of things. First of all, thank you for listening and providing all this information. I think it was point 2 about if you don't see them, you don't have to face them when you don't invite them, right? I think that to me is a good angle. I think that in many ways, point 2 is my most interesting one, is what you just said, right? Is the idea of, do I eliminate people that I don't see often? Now, Josh, here's the problem. Most of those people are the highest of managers that I normally don't see, but I need to invite. In addition, the BYOB part. This is the Hibachi Cookout 2. We did this last year.
Right.
I don't drink. I don't drink alcohol. I've never been drunk in my life. I don't drink alcohol. But I hired a bartender and provided alcohol last year. So I'm not sure how I just wiped that out this year. I've set a precedent.
You know what I always do? I always tell people, all right, it's BYOB. If you have something that you like, we'll provide Miller Lite, Coors Light, Bud Light, something like that. And if you want your own thing, you got to bring it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. The thing is, Mike, I already set the precedent. I'll tell you the truth. I spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on this last year. I hired a private hibachi chef. We rented tables and chairs. We hired a bartender. We bought all of the food, all of the drinks, all of the setup at my house last year.
Well, tell us how the party went.
Well, it was amazing.
No, tell us how the party goes, I should say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the weekly guests now. That's Josh, as you heard this morning. That's really the tricky part. Is like all these people that are on our show every single week. You can't bite one without the other.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you got it. There's people that I've had on my show for 10 years I've never met in my life.
What? Who?
A ton of people. I have guests on that I've never met in my life.
And you know what's funny? The one guest from ESPN Radio that you have on a lot that came running up to you, you ran away from. That would be me. I came running up. I was so excited to see you, and you're like, I got to go to the bathroom. Leave me alone, man.
That's right. I mean, there's a lot of people, though. There's a lot of guests that I have on that I never have met ever. Isn't that weird? Like, Tony Reale was I know you got to go. Tony Reale was talking about how he did his show for however many years. He's like, I met these guys like 5 times in my life. He's like, I've been on the air with them for 23 years.
I'll leave you with this. I couldn't believe this because he invited me to come see the taping of the show one day. And so I'm like, all right, so where does Frank Isola stand when he's here? And he goes, he's not. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, he's over there. Like, they're not even in the same room. I'm like, what?
So weird. I heard him say that, and I thought to myself,
no, it's true.
There's a lot of guests that I talk to I've never met before in my life.
100% true. I've experienced it with him.
All right, man. Well, we'll catch up again soon. Maybe at the, I don't know, big event.
Free agency. Let's do it around free agency.
Yes, absolutely. Draft. How about the draft?
Yeah, so I'm doing a special free agency show June 29th on a Sunday, 5 to 7. So maybe that next week after everything kind of happens.
Maybe I'll have you on my other show.
Okay. Wow. Can I rip Maury on that station? I don't know.
Well, we both carry the Sixers. What's the difference?
All right. See ya.
All right. Have it going, everybody. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, the free mobile app. Live video on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. There you go. The solutions for Evan's Hibachi Cookout. Good stuff there. Because I have had parties before. You've been to some of my parties.
Yes.
And we always tell the people, if you have something that you want to drink, bring it. We're not getting everything for everybody. You can't do that.
And I think that's where, because Evan was talking about this morning about, his big concern is who he should or shouldn't invite. And so to me, I was like, this is, you just process of elimination here.
Yeah. Well, you supply the basics. The Miller Lite, hey, we'll buy a 30-pack of Miller, Coors, and Bud Light. And everybody is welcome to that. But I'm not getting you if you you want a Gusto and 3 threes and that. I'm not going out to all those places.
Exactly.
And, you bring what you want.
That's why I said you should do BYOB. But I think it's an interesting point Evan made. He said, I've already set a precedent. He said, last year I had a bartender. That's kind of the point where it's can you break precedent or not?
Coming up, we'll have the unsportsmanlike moment of the day in about 20 minutes from now. Right now, coming up next, Phillies are nothing, by the way, heading to the bottom of the second. I'm going to do, we did the MLB all quarter century team. I was trying to put together the Phillies team. Very difficult. I'll try to map it all out coming up next. Thanks to the always entertaining Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike. You can hear him weekday mornings at 8 right here on 97.3 ESPN. Davis Schneider came around to score. The Blue Jays lead it 1-0 over the Phillies. It's Jesus Luzardo back after a disastrous outing last time out against the Brouhahas. And it looks like there's a second out of the inning over to Trey Turner. For out number 2. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Phil's lose last night. Abel pitches great. By the way, he got the raw deal from Brandon Marsh in center field's got to catch that ball. I mean, Marsh made 2 nice plays earlier in the game, but the ball that he doesn't catch is you got to catch. The ball hits him in the glove. I know it's a tough play. He's going that way. Hits him in the glove. He would tell you he should have caught that ball.
But this is who he is, Mike. He is a guy who cannot be relied on to consistently make the right play. He is a guy who will make 2 good plays and then 1 bad play. It's just who he is, and it's not good enough.
He stinks. I've said all season long, the Marsh thing is over. I mean, he had a nice little, when he came back from the injured list, I get it. The Phillies don't want to just get rid of the guy, and he was giving them no reason to for about a week and a half there. But you got to see the forest through the trees if you're the Phillies. They've got to do something in center field. They have to do something. Marsh is just unplayably bad, and his defense last night cost them. And by the way, another run has come around to score. So Luzardo's now given up 2 in the second here, and that's an RBI double to make it 2-0 Blue Jays.
Great.
So I was putting together, we did the all-century team for quarter century.
Quarter century.
Yeah.
For
all of baseball. I was thinking about the Phillies all-century team because you do have a World Series winner, and then a team that this group here. So you really have 2 different eras of really good players. So this is what I've kind of cobbled together here.
All right, I wrote mine down real quick so we can compare notes.
Howard at first.
Yep.
Utley at second.
100%.
Rollins at short.
Obviously.
Third's tough.
Third's very tough.
I mean, you can go Scott Rowland if you want to kind of go the early portion of his career. He'd be one of the guys from the team that was not a member of the 08 era or this era.
By the way, we're losing 4-0 now. Bo Bichette just hit a 2-run home
Oh,
run.
Bo Bichette. His name's come up in the, got to trade for guys. You go back to Rowland only played in the quarter century, though, for 2 years.
Yeah, is that enough?
They don't have a lot of options at third base.
Yeah, you don't want Pedro Feliz.
Pedro Feliz, no. David Bell would be a no.
So basically, it's either Scott Rowland or Alec Boehm.
Alec Boehm, I guess, would be an option there. Oh, man, they had some bad ones in there. Police Placido Polanco.
I mean, at least he could field.
So Rowland was the guy that I initially put in there, but he only played 2 years, 2000 and 2001. So you're going all the way back to the start of the quarter century.
I mean, the guy is a Hall of Famer.
He was. And his 2 years in 2001 and 2000 with the Phillies, those were his last 2 years before they ended up trading him. But those 2 seasons with Philadelphia in 2000, that season he had 298 with 26 homers. The next year in 2001, he had 289 with 25 homers and 107 ribbies. His on-base percentage was 378, and in both years he had an over 370 on base. His 2 years in 2000 and 2001, I mean, now you could make a case that Boehm's last 2 years were
95 RBIs,
97 RBIs back-to-back years.
Yeah.
He hit, Rowland hit 298 and 289. I guess Boehm, what did Boehm hit last year? Like 280-something? Something in that range. I mean, you look at Boehm, he just doesn't have the power. He hit last 2 seasons. Boehm's batting average last year was 276. The year before that, 280, 274, 280. So his batting average hasn't been terrible. His on-base is just not great. I mean, Boehm's signature has been the fact that he drives in runs. He's got 97 ribbies the last 2 years. So you're looking at a guy who's got almost 200 RBI the last 2 seasons, which would be better than Rowland's 2 years. So if you like RBI, you probably go Boehm. If you want all together, It's hard though. He's only played 2 years in the quarter century. So rolling or Bohm, who do you got?
I mean, based on what you just laid out there, I would go rolling.
Okay. Left field is a lot of options. You've got Burrell, Raul Ibanez. One of those two guys would probably be the front runner. Raul Ibanez played 3 seasons. Burrell played played more than that. But
see, my thing with that is Ibanez had one really good season with the Phillies. Burrell, I just pulled it up. He had, what is he here? 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 4 years with at least 90-some RBI. He had 2 years with 100-plus RBI. So, I mean, I feel like Burrell should be the option here because he's at least been multiple years of productivity.
Well, I would say for the 3 seasons that Raul Ibanez was here, he hit .264 with a .329 on base, 70 homers, 260 RBI. He hit home runs. He had 34, 16, and 20. So you're right. He had that one really monster year when he got here. He was unbelievable. And then after that, he kind of dipped off a little bit. So Burrell, I think, had more consistency, is a little bit more important.
Yeah, and Burrell he helped you win a World Series. Can't deny that.
Center field, it wasn't a great option. It's one spot that they really haven't had a great center fielder.
Honestly, I think there's only one answer for this.
I mean,
Victorino
would probably be the guy.
I want a Gold Glove.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, there's just not a great offensive option that played center field on this team in the last 25 years. They have not had a great center fielder. How about that? I mean, I was thinking, you telling me Shane Victorino, not that he's been not that he's bad, but Shane Victorino, in the grand scheme of things, was just an okay player. 275, 108 home runs, 489 RBI. I mean, his on-base percentage 340 is pretty decent, but not great. I mean, just an average player.
Clutch hits, though. He had a lot of clutch hits in big moments.
2-time All-Star.
2-time All-Star, yeah.
2 Gold Gloves. 3 Gold Gloves, actually. 4 Gold Gloves, I should say. So you go Victorino in center. You're going Burrell in left. You got Harper in right. You also got Jason Worth. You got Bobby Abreu.
Harper.
Jason Worth had some monster years here.
He did. He never won an MVP.
No, didn't win MVP, but I don't know that just winning the MVP automatically means you're listen to a couple of Jason Worths. He didn't win an MVP. He got himself paid handsomely based on what he did here. The 1 year he had 36 homers, 99 ribbies, 268, 373 on base percentage. The 1 year he had 27 homers, 46 doubles, 85 ribbies. That year he hit 296 with a 388 on base. Now, I do think that Harper's numbers are probably the 1 year he had 36 homers and 99 ribbies. I mean, that's right up there with Harper's best season here, right?
I mean, I'll pull up Bryce Harper's full rundown, but I mean,
I'm talking you look at Jason Worth that first season in Philadelphia. Jason Worth that first year in Philly hit not the first year, that 2009 season. He had 36 homers, 99 ribbies. Bryce Harper, his best year in Philadelphia.
He has 3 seasons with 30 or more home runs, does Bryce Harper.
He has 100 RBI season. Bryce's first year here, he had 35 homers on 114 ribbies. After that, his most RBI in a season are 87. So, I know he had that big year that he wins the MVP. And I would say I put Harper on my list, too. But don't forget Bobby Abreu, too. He was pretty damn good.
He was good. Not Bryce Harper.
The catcher, probably Real Muto. I'm going to say probably. You had Mike Lieberthal early in the tenure.
No consideration for Ruiz?
I mean, if you're going with an offensive catcher, JT had a pretty good stretch there offensively. I mean, consideration, sure. But, I mean, you're telling me JT offensively or Ruiz offensively?
I mean, for me, I was a big Lieberthal guy, so I might be a little biased in this conversation.
So you would say Lieberthal over both of those guys?
Because the problem with Real Muto is, Mr. BCIB has really regressed.
Well, don't judge him on this season.
I mean, Lieberthal was a 2-time All-Star. He won a Gold Glove. He has
Well, how many Gold Gloves has Real Muto won?
way more.
Okay. Offensively, I got to imagine that JT is the best of the three. Just going sight unseen here. I'm bringing up Lieberthal's numbers. Lieberthal overall hit 274 is his career average. 270 for JT. JT had more power. I mean, 21 homers, 25 homers. No, those were with Miami, actually.
Right.
Actually, no. The 1 year in Philly, he hit 25 homers, 22 homers, 20 homers. Lieberthal, he had 31 homers that year in 99. He was awesome. I remember that year. He had 300 with 31 homers. He had to be on the juice that year. Come on. I mean, look at his numbers next to that season there. Seriously, man. I mean, Chooch had a 16 home run season. That's his best by far.
I mean, I guess you should go Real Muto then, based on your argument.
I would say Real Muto. The pitchers, Wheeler, Nola, Holiday, Lee, Hamels, not really in that order, but just the five there. I mean, there's a couple guys, I guess, if you like them. And then the closer being Lidge.
Hold on, you skipped DH.
Oh, that's Schwarber.
No consideration for Tomey?
Nope.
All right, never mind.
I mean, sure, consideration, but I thought it was pretty clear that I was, that looking at it, Schwarber has been pretty consistent.
Schwarber's been great.
You guys could chime in on that. 609-403-0973. A lot of text messages coming in on the conversation. Coming up, you guys listen on Sportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6 right here on 97.3 ESPN. We're going to be checking in on the unsportsmanlike debate of the day. Moment of the day is coming up next right here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN.
Kevin, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
If a person is on a date, is it proper protocol that if one person gets their food first, they have to wait for the other person?
Yes.
I tend
because
to
if
agree.
you're on a date, you're trying to make a good impression. You don't want it to be that you're selfish and you're not considerate of the other person. Because
Okay.
that's what you're doing if you eat before their food gets there.
All right, 3:52. That's the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Is it rude to eat before the other person gets their food? What do you think?
Absolutely. Canty's right about this. I don't agree with Canty about much, but he's right about this. You cannot be the person who puts on a bad first impression on a date.
What if it's not a date? Everyone's just assuming it's a date. What if, like, you and I go out to eat and I get my food before you?
I mean, I don't think you're going to have the whole meal done before I'm...
See, I wait until the other person gets their food. I'm not eating my food, until the other person gets their food. But you guys are all assuming you're out on a date.
So you're saying maybe like if you go out for like a professional lunch.
Just a lunch with a couple buddies. Hey, we're going to go out and grab some lunch. You want to come with us? Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I typically don't drink until the other person drinks. Like, I'm not the guy who's going to start drinking my drink before you get yours. So I treat it the same way.
So everybody's sitting, everybody goes out, gets lunch. I'm not talking about drinks.
Right.
Food comes to the table. Yours comes first.
I wait.
Are you eating the food or are you waiting for everybody else's?
I'm waiting.
Yeah, I'm waiting too. I think you have to wait. It's just one of those things that, and it's for a variety of reasons. You don't want to be the person that starts eating and then you're done and then you want to
watching
try
the other
to
people eat.
rush everybody else out of there because now you're done and you're like, hey, let's go. I want to go. Well, you got your food 3 minutes, 5 minutes before I did. I'm a fast eater too,
I'm not a fast eater.
which is annoying.
I know I am.
Like, you get the food, guys picking away at it nice and slow. See, I don't like stuff that's messy, too. I definitely am like stuff that's messy. I want it off my plate. I want it out of there. I want to get rid of it.
I'm not a fast eater, so
Yeah, we shouldn't go out to lunch then.
nope.
I agree, though, you definitely, if you're out on a date, have to wait. But I even agree if you're out with your buddies, you got to wait.
Just normal etiquette.
That's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, we'll talk with Adam Kaplan, get the football at 4 that you need today. We'll look at some of the underrated players on the Eagles' defense that you need to know. It's next on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Phil's down 4-0 in the bottom of the third. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I see you watching on the YouTube platform, 40 Kid. He says, just in time for Football at 4. Adam Kaplan is here for today's Football at 4. We're going to look at, yesterday, we looked at some under the radar players on the offensive side of the ball. Today, we are going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball where there are plenty guys who are up for jobs. Who are some guys you might not be thinking of? Well, we're going to tell you today on today's Football at 4. Adam Kaplan is here from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Just search Inside the Birds. What's going on, Adam?
Mike, good to talk to you on an Aaron Rodgers Thursday here in Delaware Valley.
Looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers. What are the Steelers doing? Come on, this is a well-run franchise. Why do they need this drama?
So from talking to them, Mike, for months, they were really confident. The Rodgers never told them specifically, yeah, I'm definitely signing with you. All the indications they got were that if he plays and doesn't retire, he was going to sign with him. But he needed more time. He's been dealing with some kind of personal issue in his inner circle. It's not been reported. Nobody knows what it is, seemingly. But anyway, so if you're a Steelers fan, and I know they're out there in this area, you won't have to worry about Mason Rudolph being their starting quarterback unless Rodgers gets hurt. But I could tell you, I'm talking to the Jets, Rodgers played with two different injuries last season, an MCL sprain and a hamstring injury, and he played through it. He didn't play well. So at 41 and a half years old, Mike, on your point, this is what you're getting, a guy that's near the end of his career.
All right, so that's the news there. It looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers. He will be their quarterback and ready to go. That is, according to multiple reports there, breaking news. He is headed to Pittsburgh. He will sign with them, it looks like, tomorrow. All right, the Eagles, by the way, they will have the finishing up of their, what do they have, one more mandatory? Is that what it is?
Well, they only have one, and they have the shortest mandatory camp. Usually it's 3 days. The Eagles are only doing one. They're the only team that's doing one. And it's Tuesday. They worked today, and then they're not back to work until next Tuesday. And that's it. And then they're off until late July. So, and by the way, and we'll talk more about this next week, but several coaches have told me over the years, there's absolutely no difference between a mandatory camp practice or any other practice that they're coaching. It's just everyone has to be there. That's the only difference. Like, you can't, unless it's excused, of course. We've seen this happen with teams where guys have something going on or whatever, but no, the bottom line is you're there and you got to be there. And again, it's the last practice until training camp.
All right, let's get into some stuff here. We got a good topic today. Yesterday we did under the radar offense, guys, and the offense is pretty set. We know there's a lot of interesting players, but the defense, there's a lot of openings, and these under the radar guys could come into play. So let's start on the defensive tackle spot where they lost a key guy in free agency. Milton Williams is out, which means there's a lot of guys who could be in. Give me one that is interesting to you.
Yeah, so this, by the way, what we're talking about today was the subject of our show this morning on Inside the Birds with Jeff Mosher and I. And Jeff and I thought that Byron Young, who the Eagles claimed off waivers, he was the third-round pick 2 years ago from the Raiders out of Alabama. But here's what happened, Mike. So they had a coaching change and a regime change. They had a new general manager last year, Tom Telesco, who unfortunately got fired after one season. But Telesco made the decision to cut Byron Young, a third-round pick, who after one season, as a matter of fact, Mike, he never even made it to the cut down to 53. He was cut before that, which is not a good sign. But Eagles liked him. They had a good grade on him. They claimed him off waivers. He never wound up playing for them. It was kind of odd. He was on injury reserve twice with the Eagles last season, but nevertheless, he's healthy. He's practicing. And Mike, when you look at their projected starters, right? We know Carter will start. Moore Jomo, we were told months ago, was definitely starting, and Jordan Davis will play a lot. Well, he'll start whether he plays 50% of snaps or more remains to be seen. I need to amend that. He's got to earn that. We'll see what happens. And we know what Vic Fangio said about him this week, but he's got to prove it. And then they're really excited about Ty Robinson, the fourth rounder out of Nebraska. Thomas Booker's back is mostly a nose tackle. And you need to have at least 6 D tackles on your roster. You could try 5, but because of the front that the Eagles have, is they need guys who could play multiple positions. Byron Young, Mike, look, there's a saying in the NFL, you can't teach size. 6'3" and 3/8, 295, arm length 34 and an eighth. Mike, that is left tackle arm length. Hands are huge at size 11. Wingspan's really good. There's talent here, and you've got Clint Hurt, a top 3 defensive line coach of the National Football League. He's got a great opportunity here, Mike. There's no question about it. They need players, so they're kind of light at D tackle right now. They have no veterans, which is, by the way, what they did last year. They were the only NFL team to not have a vested veteran on their opening day roster. That is unheard of. And right now, by the way, they don't have a vested veteran on the roster.
By the way, real quick, Toronto's gone up 8-0. Lazardo is already out of the game. Yes, Lazardo is out of the game. 16 earned runs in his first 11 games. He has given up 20 over the last 2.
Let me just add something. And obviously, I'm saying this after the fact, but one can make the case that Rob Thompson leaving him in when they were down 7-0, and he left him in to just get crushed. That has got some carryover. Boy, that's not good. I hope he's okay physically. But anyway.
Absolutely. All right, so Byron Young, a former third-rounder. We talked about it the other day. They went with the 49er third-round running back. This is a former third-rounder who was a Raiders player. So he is a guy to kind of keep an eye on in that defensive tackle rotation. Now, do you think Moro Ojomo is going to get a uptick in snaps this year?
Yeah, he's a starter, Mike. They've made this decision. Now, for most of the season, I should note that they only kept 5 defensive tackles on the roster. They obviously had a guy or 2 on the practice squad, but they just basically they were playing what we call that roster tango. We've talked about this now for 8 years, where they might go light at position, but they've got guys who they can bring up on game day. They call them up off the practice squad. They use their elevation. So look, they could keep 5, but it would behoove them to keep 6. Most teams keep 6 defensive tackles, and the Eagles with that 5-man front, you're going to need them. So we'll see what happens, Mike. But the next guy I want to talk about is Smile Mondon. He's another 5th-round pick that we look at with the Eagles, where you go, you know what, there's talent here. I know he's small, but you know what, Mike? At 6'2 and a quarter, 225. Today's NFL linebacker can be 225. I was told that Zach Bond ended the season between 225 and 227. And you know how great he was? So it's okay. You don't have to be 240, 250. That doesn't matter anymore. Can you shed blocks? Can you move? And Mondon's a good player. He could cover. Now, what we were told, Mike, is the reason why he dropped to the 5th, despite being with Georgia and a national champion, he had a stretch fracture. It wound up getting repaired. He had some injuries. He also had an ankle injury, so that was a concern. The size was less of a concern, Mike, but this is another position, inside backer. Their linebackers they play inside. Vic Fangio does not call anyone who lines up on the outside of backer. He calls them edge rushers, like Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith.
Right.
So with the Kobe Dean's injury, which is major, with Jihad Campbell, Vic Fangio gave the answers to the test. He won't be ready until sometime in August. Here you go, Mike. It's Zach Bond. It's Jeremiah Trotter Jr. It's another guy from Toledo. Nick Sirianni loves that school. That's his former college roommate is the head coach at Toledo, Jason Candle. Dallas Gant is that guy from Toledo. Lance Dixon, who transferred from 2 schools and then went to it was Penn State and Toledo and another school. That's it, Mike. They don't have anybody else. So there's a one-off opportunity for Smile Mondon to play early as a backup. And by the way, look, Trotter Jr. definitely would start if the season started today, but Mike, it doesn't. Let's see what happens in training camp. You never know with Mondon.
Absolutely. Oh, hey, he was a guy that had a lot of promise, some injury issues there. So we'll see. Could he be one of these guys that kind of comes out of nowhere and ends up being a name that we're all talking about during training camp? All right, here's a name that I butchered the other day, but I do like him. I liked him the night they drafted him. For some reason, why did I think he went to Colorado State? I don't know where that entered my mind. But how about the corner, Mac McWilliams?
Yeah. Mike, here the thing with him, and this is what you talk about opportunity. Now, Perry Nickerson wound up not playing in a game, but he did play for Vic with Miami 2 years ago, so he knows the scheme really well. He's number 34. He right now he'd be the backup nickel, but Mac McWilliams was really drafted to play nickel. His arm length is really short. Now, the one thing about him with his build, I know he's 190. That's not too small. Very physical and very aggressive, I'm told, by someone who actually scouted him. So he's number 22, wearing a Santi Samuels old number, if you're looking for one. Or actually, I believe Keely Ringo used to be number 22. So just kind of funny how things work out. But Ringo now is number 7. But when you look at it, Mike, they need a future nickel. Let's say that Cooper DeJean in 20. We know he's going to be the nickel this year, but let's say in 2026 they move him to safety, or safety would be a surprise. But let's say he plays outside corner, which is the position they drafted him to play. Mike, they're going to need a nickel. So watch Mac McWilliams. You mentioned a 5th rounder out of Central Florida. Let's see how he does in training camp in a secondary, Mike, where there are a lot of openings. This is the kind of the cool thing is there are a lot of jobs open. Now, they had 5. They're going to have 5 new starters, at least on defense. They have a lot of backup jobs open, Mike. This is going to be a fun training camp. There are a lot of roles open. There's a lot of uncertainty, kind of what this thing's going to look like in terms of depth.
I agree with that. I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of interesting storylines at training camp. That corner room, and, the fact that he mentioned the other day casually, hey, Cooper DeJean could play some safety. They might be able to play him more there if a player like Mac McWilliams stands out in training camp. So keep an eye on that. He mentioned safety. What about a safety? Where's there a safety that we should be keeping our eye on?
All right, so he's not under the radar in terms of everybody knows who Lewis Seen is. He might be the most popular backup we've covered in 8 years, Mike, on the show. Look, it's really crazy. So we appreciate the people quoted us. We put a note out when they signed him off the Bills practice squad. The Bills at some point were practicing him at linebacker. That doesn't seem like that's going to happen here. I'm not ruling it out, but that's not happened yet, if it does at all. But he's a safety right now for the Eagles. This guy was a first-round pick, Mike, over 6'2", has unbelievable measurables. Measurables are a trait, Mike. That's something that clubs love. Now, Lewis Seen has not played meaningful football in nearly 3 years. He's totally over the compound fracture. He's healthy. There's nothing wrong with him. The reason why the Eagles signed him to a 2-year deal when they signed him off the Bills practice squad was simple. They wanted to get him to their offseason, get a look at him. He's a number 38. You're going to hear a lot about him. Now, he's on the outside looking in right now. What does that mean? The guys at the safety position right now are obvious. Blankenship is a starter. Makuba, they're fully expecting to start. Now, Sidney Brown's going to have to beat him out. I don't see it happening. Makuba's got much better versatility. But at worst, Brown will be the 3. Tristan McCollum, who Vic Fangio had not only mentioned once, he mentioned twice. Not to forget about him, he's a good special teams player. He's got, by the way, he's very tall. His brother Zion, the Eagles loved for that draft, who I saw at the Senior Bowl out of, I forget, did he go to Sam Houston or something like that? But Tristan is a guy that's got talent, and right now he's a 4 safety and special teamer. Lewis Seen, look, it's extremely rare for teams to keep 5 safeties, Mike. Some have only kept 3. So Seen's a long shot, but you know what? There's talent here. He's healthy. He's long. He's got rare athletic ability. Let's see what happens at camp. The good thing is, Mike, it's yet another position where you look at it, there's going to be a lot of competition. They're not going to hand Makuba the job. They expect him to start. It's not a lot that he starts year 1. Let's see what happens, Mike. This is, as we went through this week, Mike, there are a lot of roles open for this team, particularly on defense.
There is, and you got a safety spot you need a corner probably. You need to find a linebacker at least for the interim defensive tackle. And by the way, there's a lot of possibilities at edge rusher. I mean, it's not a fait accompli that Jalen Suns is going to come in here and knock the socks off of these guys, but I'm sure they like him a lot, and they're hoping that he gets that, but I'm assuming there's snaps to be had there as well. All right, those are a couple names: Byron Young, Smile Mondin, Mac McWilliams, and Lewis Seen to keep an eye on under the radar for the Eagles at training camp. It's Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast with Adam Kaplan right here on the Sports Bash. All right, Adam, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
There you go. There's 4 names to keep a look at. And by the way, Phil's down 8-0 here in the 4th inning. Chris Bassett is the starter today for Toronto. But real quick on some of those, Lewis Seen is he mentioned is the safety from Georgia that they signed last year. He was actually on the team late last season when they went to the playoffs and everything. They picked him up, and he is a guy that has had some injury issues, but he is a former first-round pick. He is a guy who played at Georgia with all those other guys, and he had a gruesome injury that was really the reason that kind of kept him off the field. He did go to Buffalo and played some linebacker there, so it could be something to watch maybe if they like the guy enough to say, hey, do you want to try to play some linebacker? But I imagine he would be in that safety. Mac McWilliams, the guy I've talked about after draft day, really like him. I think he has a chance to make a difference on the defense this year as a corner. I think he's a guy, as Adam mentioned, that can play some corner, nickel corner, which means they can move Cooper DeJean to the outside. Pretty interesting thought if, hey, we like Mac McWilliams enough that we could play him on nickel snaps and we can use Cooper DeJean more on the outside if they even want to do that. That's something to keep an eye on. Smile Mondin, if you're a college football fan, you probably have heard a lot about him, the injuries that he has had, but he was a very high-profile recruit. Another Georgia player, by the way. And the first guy he mentioned was Byron Young, who, by the way, the Eagles signed him last year, third-round pick off the Raiders, who, basically he got waived at the end of training camp with the Raiders. Didn't make the cut down there. But Alabama kid, just third-round pick. When you get a defensive tackle taken in the third round like that, you're anticipating some high-level impact there. And I think that Byron Young, Adam's right. He is a guy that definitely kind of keep an eye on there. So good stuff from Adam Kaplan for today's Football at 4 on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. By the way, Phil's Bohm just, what did he walk? And what's that, Castellanos with a single. So 8-0 Toronto. Phil do have a couple guys on, but man, 8-0 again. Bad Luzardo start.
Do you buy into what Kaplan said there about they shouldn't have left Luzardo in the last game?
Oh, I think that's evident. I think Rob Thompson actually, admitted that, he got kicked out of the game, and then when he got kicked out of the game, I think the messaging might have got lost in the sauce there that, hey, maybe you want to get this guy out of the game.
Maybe.
But all that was kind of happening. I laughed because everybody wants Rob to show a pulse and get himself kicked out of a game. He goes and does that, and then disaster ensues that,
right.
This whole thing. But his first 11 starts, 16 earned runs, 67 innings pitched. His last 2 starts, in 5 2/3, he's given up 20. His ERA has gone from 2.15 to 4.46.
You've ruined the Cy Young.
Oh, he's done.
It's cooked.
To get that down from 4.46, to get that under
3.
Under 3 would be insurmountable. I don't see how he gets that back under 3.
I mean,
and you're going to have to be under 3 to be a Cy Young guy.
It was just 2 weeks ago, John Heyman was saying it was the best offseason move in all of baseball, and now it's completely imploded.
He has completely imploded, and now how does the way Luzardo's pitched the last 2 outings make you think about the Painter, Abel, Ranger, Nola, all of that whole triangle, or now rectangle, if you will?
Octagon.
Not quite 8, but yeah, there's 7, right?
There's 7.
There's
yeah.
5, 6, 7 guys. Actually, no, maybe it is 8. You got Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, Luzardo, Abel, Painter. That would be 7. So okay.
7, yeah.
There's 7 arms that are kind of in the mix here.
Well, the ace spot can be Rob Thompson sitting with his arms folded, figure out what to do.
Well, Taijuan Walker was in there
That's
for
true.
a little bit, and he is now no longer.
But I think we all can agree that he's not really in the conversation.
Yeah.
He was just filling a void.
By the way, guess who just got called up?
Who's that?
By Atlanta. You have a guess, or are you just going to stare at me?
I don't know the Atlanta Braves farm system that well.
Oh, there was an article about him last week that this guy is in their farm system pitching really well.
Oh, there's one of the top pitchers?
No, he's a veteran pitcher who pitched for the Phillies recently.
Who pitched for the Phillies recently?
Yeah, you didn't see this story?
No.
Oh. Craig Kimbrell
Oh, my goodness.
was pitching for the A's, the Braves, and he's got like a 1.50 ERA. He's been pitching really well. The Braves had a 10-4 lead in the 9th against the Diamondbacks. Arizona scored 7.
Right.
And the Braves called up Craig Kimbrell after the game was over.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Well, it's funny, we were talking about this. Where were we talking about this last week? That, hey, any team can sign Kimbrell because he was with the minors team, and I guess he was free to leave. The Braves could have blocked him, but they had to say that you were coming up to the majors.
Right. They had to have they had to have a pathway for him to come.
Well, no. If somebody said, hey, we want Craig Kimbrell, the Braves had the right of first refusal to say you can't sign him. But if they said no, they had to put him on the major league roster. Well, they didn't even wait for that. They've now brought Craig Kimbrell is back up.
The major league roster, or the 40-man roster.
The major league roster.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. So if another team wanted to sign him as a major leaguer, the Braves had the first chance to say,
no,
you can't have him because we're going to put him on our major league roster.
Gotcha.
So they made the decision today, though, I think is before anybody even tried to sign. I can't imagine anybody was trying to sign Craig Kimbrell. Man, my gosh.
I mean, pitching is pretty scarce in Major League Baseball, so.
It is, but Kimbrell has, he was pitching well last year in Baltimore, and then he imploded.
That's true.
First half of the year, he pitched well, and then he just imploded.
Well, it's what he does now. That's what he did with the Phillies,
too. I mean, the guy's like 35, 30. He's got to be older than that. I think let's see, how old is Kimbrell? Kimbrell now is, man, he's been in the league that long. Craig Kimbrell now is
37.
37, yeah.
He just turned 37.
So far in this season, down in the minors, he was pitching at the Braves AAA level. There was a guy who was texting in yesterday. He was like, he could not believe the way that the minor leagues are set up. He was like, why is it that the better prospects are at AA and not AAA? Like, why do they call 2A and 3A? Why is AAA thought to be better? Like, it's always been like that. The AAA is more for like the Kimbrells of the world, the guys who have made it to the majors and then like they are not good enough, so they go back. It's more like veteran minor leaguers. AA is more of like younger minor leaguers.
Well, I always thought of it like this. AA is where you cultivate your future stars. AAA is where basically guys you learn who can and can't play kind of thing. It's like the separator.
Well, it's like you've been to the majors and now you're not a major, like a Cody Clements or they call them 4A players for a reason, because you're always in AAA, then you go back to the majors, then you go back to AAA, so most of the guys who are still younger prospects, they're staying at AA. Now, that's a weird situation where Justin Crawford, they wanted him to see more veteran pitchers, so they sent him to AAA.
Well, that's what I was going to say before you jumped in, which is AAA is a proving ground. It's an area where
but I'm not agreeing with you. That's why I jumped in.
Well, you just said what I said about Crawford.
No, it's not a proving. That's more. It's a proving ground for Crawford, but the guy's point is, why aren't the better players playing at AAA? He's saying by the nature of the 2As, the better players should be at AAA. Because of what Amaro said. Amaro said the better pitchers are at AA, not AAA.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, but let me finish making this point, which is AAA is about when you have guys who you're trying to figure out if they have or don't have a future necessarily. The Crawfords, the Abels, and guys like that. You're putting them at AAA to be like...
I understand that. My point, his question was, why is it you're at A, then you're at AA, then you're at AAA. Why would AA pitching be better than AAA pitching? Was his question. Your answer is not related to his question. He's asking, why is the pitching at AA better? My answer is because there are better prospects still at AA. The better prospects are not at the AAA level. Those players are generally players who are older and have been to the majors, and then they're coming back to AAA. AAA is not like he thinks it should be. You're better, so you go from A to AA to AAA because you're a better player. That's not necessarily how it works. The AA is generally a younger batch of talent.
Right.
Whereas AAA has guys who have been in the majors, they still want to stick around, and they kick you back to AAA so that you're facing older, more seasoned pitchers, but they're not necessarily better than the prospects.
Right, but I think the key to what you said is it's the younger prospects who are at
the younger prospects stay. And he's saying, if you're better, why are you not going to AAA? That's his point. If you're Aiden Miller and you're one of the better, if you're a better shortstop than the AAA shortstop, why are you not at AAA playing? Why are you staying at AA? That's what he wants to know. And the point is, they're generally AA has more talented pitchers, but they're not quite as seasoned as the other guys. They want to see Justin Crawford face guys who have been in the majors.
Correct.
They don't think Aiden Miller's quite ready to face guys who have been in the majors yet.
And that's more of the key point. Saying, well, a guy at AA is bad. The Amaro bite that we keep playing is less about what the Phillies are doing, and it's more of like a helping people understand why when you see Otto Kemp hitting well at AAA, that it's not indicative of what he can do at the major league level.
Because the guys at AAA generally maybe don't have as much talent, but they're a little bit more seasoned. They have kind of hit the ceiling. Like, again, Buddy Kennedy, Cody Clements, Weston Wilson. Those players are guys who you would see in AAA. They're like 25. They're not quite good enough to be everyday major leaguers. But if you send him to AAA, a pitcher like a Mick Abel would get to face a guy who's been in the majors.
Right.
That's kind of like, all right, we want to see if you can get guys who have hit in the big leagues out.
Right. That's why
For
I said
Miller, they don't think he's quite ready to do that yet.
It's a lot of it has to do with age, like you said. Miller is still young. He's still inexperienced, and the organization is saying you're not ready yet. That's all.
All right, coming up, Knicks Nuggets are on the way. Earnshaw's here. We'll see what the Nuggets are today as the Phillies and Luzardo getting beat up again. Luzardo giving up a 8 spot in this game. He's already out of the game. It's 8-0 Blue Jays, and they got 2 on with a chance to tack on some more. Check the bottom line on the YouTube channel and on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. All right, 434. Phil's down 8-0. Tough day for Luzardo. He's out of the game already. Another horrible outing for Jesus Luzardo. Didn't get through the third inning. Phil's down 8-0 right now in the fifth. Time now for Nick's Nuggets. They're brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw is host of the Shift podcast and producer of The Locker Room weekends on 97.3 ESPN. Been a rough couple outings here for Jesus Luzardo.
Oh, my goodness, Mike Gill. I mean, he has just been brutal the last couple of starts. I was just going through some of the numbers. His ERA on May 20th was a $1.95. A $1.95 on May 20th. It is now up to 4.46. I mean, just the tables have completely turned. He's given up 20 runs in his last 2 starts. He's given up 23 in his last 3 starts. And according to John Clark, this is a fascinating nugget. This is where we're starting nugget number 1. We got to talk about this Jesus Luzardo problem. He is the first pitcher in modern baseball history to give up 20 earned runs in just 5 2/3 innings over 2 starts. I mean, this is historically bad stuff right now. It's according to John Clark, that little nugget there. Listen, he was great to start the year. The last 2 have been really rough for him. I don't know what's going on. If they're noticing what he's pitching, I don't know.
By the way, Taiwan Walker's into the game here, so
great.
much for trying to see him pitch in high leverage situations.
Oh boy, this is unbelievable. So, I
don't know what to make it. Like, listen, much as you don't want to take 2 starts of Mick Abel and go crazy and say he's going to win the Cy Young, I can't take 2 starts of Luzardo and say the guy sucks all of a sudden.
And then Thompson left him in for a while in that last one, the 12 runs thing. It was left in for a long time. Okay, I understand that. However, remember when he pitched? He wasn't a great postseason pitcher. Does this now concern you? Right? Just think. I mean, I know it's only 2 starts, but when you're going into a postseason series, you can't have a flub like this. I mean, you can't give up 12 runs and 8 runs. Does it concern you at all, like as him as a postseason starter with not a ton of experience in the postseason, wasn't great when he pitched against the Phillies with the Marlins? Does that give you pause on who your 4 starters are?
Listen, the season is a evolution here, so it doesn't give me pause today. I'm not taking anything I saw from these 2 games and now making a decision that this guy stinks and I can't use him in the playoffs. There was 6 starts that I saw that made me feel pretty darn good about what I have. So no, based on 2 starts, I'm not making a knee-jerk reaction that now I can't trust this guy. Now I can't pitch in the playoffs. It's a long season. I mean, 10 starts from now, he might be completely dominant again. So no decision on anything that I've seen up to June 5th will be made here today.
Okay. All right. I just want listen. I mean, he pitched games against Colorado, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, Miami, San Francisco, Atlanta. I mean, so there were some teams that weren't great. I mean, he pitched against some playoff teams too, but I don't know. It just makes you wonder with how much pitching they have. Now Mick's coming along strong. Andrew Painter coming along hopefully later on in the season, depending on what they want to do there. You have Ranger too, Aaron Nola. What is going to happen with him? He's hurt. He keeps having setbacks. I don't think you take Luzardo out of the playoff rotation, but it's something to consider. With all the pitching you do have, you want the best possible for. I think Luzardo's still in that mix for sure.
Yeah, listen, I mean, again, 4 starts from now, Abel might be getting beat up, 4 walks here, 4 walks there. I mean, so anything that's up to this point, you know how many times you think about things in the first half of the season, then you get into September 1, and you're like, oh, my God, just think about what this team looked like on June 1 and how different you felt about them. I mean, even the month of September, you get to the month of September, you still have a whole month left to go. You could be, how many times did those Gabe Kapler teams start the month of September, like a game out of the wild card? They'd be halfway through September, like 3 games out of the wild card, and then they get to the finish line. They were 9 games out of the wild card. I mean, like, there's just so much baseball left to play that I can't take a 2-game sample size and make any prognostication based on it. And if you were to ask me right now to make one, Jesus Luzardo will be fine. At the end of the year, we're going to be talking about a guy who's like, 16-8 with an ERA of like 3.90 and that might be a solid pitcher. But these 2 starts have ruined his ERA for the year.
Awful. It stinks because he was. I mean, this is a guy who started creeping up in the betting odds as a Cy Young candidate, and all
He
of a
was plus
sudden,
1,800. He was plus 1,800.
Gone. It's absolutely out of the question now. The ERA is just done after these 2 starts. I mean, 20 runs in 5 2/3 innings is brutal. I hope he can figure it out. Now, let's say right now, just the way it stands, the Phillies rosters right now, Aaron Nola is out. Let's say Aaron Nola's still out, etc. Right now, who are your top 4 starters you are heading into a playoff series today, Mike Gill? I got my 4.
Well, if Nola's still out, I mean, the
Let's
4
say
guys
he's
I
out.
got
Right now.
The 4 guys, if Nola's out, it's Wheeler, Luzardo, Sanchez, Suarez.
Okay. All right. No Mick in there. All right. No Walker. I like it. I'm the same. I'm the same exact way. All right, let's move along.
Walker is not starting the game in the playoffs.
I'm messing with you. All right, nugget number 2. I want to talk about the Mick himself. He pitched fantastic last night. I know they got the loss, but he was great once again out there in his second MLB start. Even though they got the loss, that's fine. But you put out a poll question, Mike Gill, and I'm very, very intrigued by it because I think I'm with you. I am so torn on this because we know the needs that this Phillies team has, and we know the problems that they could run into in the postseason. So you put out a poll question regarding Mick Abel, which I found fascinating. Should the Phillies trade or keep Mick Abel to add either an outfielder or a bullpen arm? 44% right now says yes. 56% say no, they must keep him. I think either way, it could be a positive. I'm going to sneak my way out of this question because either way, I think it could be a positive. I think he could be a really good pitcher in this league and could help you. However, you could also get a bat back or a bullpen arm back that can help you right now go on a playoff run. Long-term, great. Short-term, great. I think it's a win-win either way.
Yeah, I'm torn too. Listen, I said before, I would trade him if I got back in return a pitcher like a Mason Miller where he's controllable just like Abel's controllable. I'm not doing it for a rental player that you're going to have for a couple months. Like I said, if you traded for Carlos Estevez, like that level of closer in this year's, I don't even know who that would be. Like I think Estevez last year is probably better than the options. I don't know, is Ryan Helsley, if he even gets traded now? I mean, the Cardinals are kind of back in the race here, so I don't even know if he would be a guy. What closers? I saw Pete Fairbanks. Would you say you would rather have Pete Fairbanks this year or Carlos Estevez last year?
Man, I'd probably take Estevez last year. I was a big Estevez guy heading into last year's deadline. Mick's a lot, though, to give up for like just a rental, too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not giving him up for a player of that magnitude. Like Carlos Estevez was really good, but not good enough. Like that's not a good enough to me. I battled with you, man. I said he hasn't pitched in big-time situations, and he let them down in the playoffs, too. It's hard because if you trade Mick Abel,
Miller, I mean, Mason, you have control of him, but he hasn't pitched in any big-time playoff games. You don't know how he's going to react.
Absolutely. But the fact that you get control of him so that even if he doesn't pitch well this year, you at least have him to kind of learn how to pitch in Philadelphia over the next couple of years. To me, that would be a big selling point there, as opposed to like a David Bednar, Ryan Helsley, Pete Fairbanks. I mean, Fairbanks has pitched in some playoffs with Tampa, though.
I just given up Mick Abel for a bullpen arm. I just feel like that's not I think Mick Abel needs.
Yeah, but would you have said this before you saw him start?
No, I've seen him come up through the ranks. The 2 starts I don't even
because if you saw him what he did last year, there's no way in hell you wouldn't have traded him. He had an ERA of almost 7 with a 1.8. So you're only basing it on what you're seeing this year.
Well, he's had a pass where he's pitched well. I mean, that's why he was a top-ranked prospect for a while. He has pitched well.
No, he was he was a top-ranked prospect because he was drafted in the first round. He has not really. He's been okay. He has not been like this dominant,
been a good
guy.
Pitcher.
Good, but not like a dominant pitcher.
Great. No, I never said dominant.
No, he hasn't been. Pitcher. That's what my point is. It's only what he's done this year that anybody now is saying, wow, this guy's pretty good. Because he has been a disappointment for the most part since they have drafted him.
Well, because last year was so bad, I think everyone kind of wrote him off. And now
the year before that wasn't all that good either, which is part of the thing where, I mean, people were like, this guy's not even going to be on the 40-man. He's been so bad.
I wouldn't give him up just for a bullpen arm, though. I think with Mick, he's one of your top guys. He has to be in a package for a big bat or a guy like Mason Miller, right? I think.
By the way,
you want to utilize his value as much as possible.
His career minor league ERA is almost 5, so he has not been very good. He has not had one.
He's had good seasons. He's had good outings.
He's had good outings, not good seasons. His career ERA in the minor leagues is 4.85. He is almost a 5 ERA. 4.44 is his career minor league.
Because last year was so bad.
Yeah, but his year before that, he has never had an ERA under 3.50 in the minors. He had a 4.43, a 4.24, 4.43, 4.37, 4.39, 7.29. This year he's 2.53. So that's my point is he's never really lived up to that first round pick excitement. This is the only year where you were like, whoa, look at this guy was drafted in the first round. This is the only year that he has given people some excitement.
And he's come up and he's pitched 2 really good starts in the major leagues. So clearly there's something there. I mean, and the Phillies believe in him, and he's had good stuff. It's the walks that have hurt him for the most part in the minor leagues. If he could figure that out a little bit, which he seems to have a little bit in the major leagues in his 2 starts, then he could be on his way because the intangibles have been there. He's had really good starts.
Yeah, but you can't get fooled by 2 starts. You can't get fooled by 2 starts and then make oh my God, I saw 2 starts. This guy's going to be a Cy Young Award winner. There have been plenty of people who make 2 good starts. He has way more in his professional career. His professional career, not his major league career. In his professional career, in which, by the way, he has made, let's see, in his professional career.
But the whole thing here is, are you willing to part with him for just a reliever? I mean, I don't know if I could do that for just a reliever. One of my top guys.
No, that's what I'm saying is that if I'm trading him, it's hard to just give him away for a rental player because of the way he's pitched this year. But you have to trust your scouts. Like Keith Law was on last week and said, listen, we saw him for 4 years in the minors. He does not have enough command to pitch at the big league level to be a consistent top-end starter. This is what Keith Law said last week on the Sports Bash.
Abel's got good stuff, like pure quality of pitches. His issue forever has been that he doesn't throw enough strikes. Then he comes up and makes one big league start, and it's like he was possessed by an incubus, and all he does is throw strikes. I mean, yes, I know it was the Pirates. They're not very good. But he was in the zone all day with every one of his pitches. It was phenomenal. I mean, it's one of the best, most exciting debuts. You sort of leave on a successful note. Then he went back to the minors. He walked 4 and 6 innings his next time out because that's kind of who he is fundamentally.
So you're talking about a guy who, as he said, he's pitched for 4 years and has not been able to throw strikes. That has been his problem. And then he miraculously comes up and he hasn't walked a guy in either one of his outings. So is he the guy that can't throw strikes at the minor league level, or is this guy that has unbelievable command at the major league level?
I don't know about that. The command thing, I don't know. I told you. I called a couple of his starts while he was in the minors. The walks are his problem. All of a sudden he gets to the majors, he's not walking anybody. I don't understand that either. But he's still one of your top guys in your system, one of your most valuable assets. Do you want to part with that for just a rental? That's my whole point here. I don't know if I would want to do that.
Well, of course, but that's the challenge that they have. They can't go off of those 2 starts. No. They have to go off his body of work. And his body of work says he cannot throw consistent strikes. Now, these last 2 games, I think you're saying, has he found something? Did he figure something out? And that is why I think they're fortunate that Nola had a setback so that they can see Abel pitch for another month, and now you have a better read on whether or not you say this guy can help us in the big leagues or he's worth moving on because we don't think we can trust him.
Well, Keith even said it at the top there. He has really good stuff. Like his stuff.
Nobody's ever questioned that. No one's ever questioned that.
Saying. His stuff's really good, and it seems like it might translate. It might translate to the major league level. I don't know. He's not walking anybody. He hasn't walked really anybody so far. So, I mean, it's wait and see. It's only 2 starts. But I can't just give him up for nothing and just a rental relief arm. Can't do it. All right, moving along. Before I get out of here, I don't know if you saw this, Mike. A little football for you. Norfolk State, Delaware State is going to be played at Lincoln Financial Field this coming football season. And why is that significant? Norfolk State, Delaware State. It's going to be Mike Vick versus Deshaun Jackson at the Link as head coaches. Crazy. They're putting this game at Lincoln Financial Field. Now, I got a question for you. Will this draw more than Temple football games?
Good question. I actually got an email about this game today. Delaware State, Norfolk State at the Link. Will it draw more than Temple? Yeah, I think it will.
I think it will.
I think
you could put probably 3 or 4 Temple games combined with where they've been at in recent years, and it might draw more than Temple.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this outdraws Temple because you do have the 2 head coaches, but you also Norfolk State, I think, in that area where they are is like a pretty big deal down there. So I do think this will outdraw the Temple Owls. Who I went to a Temple game. Okay, this is back when they were playing at the Vet. All right,
wow.
so this is a while ago. This is in like the 90s. Temple played West Virginia at the Vet, and I would tell you there may have been 500 people at this game.
Well, I went to a lot of Temple football games growing up, and it was during the Al Golden years, some of those years, and there was not a ton of fans in the stands for a lot of those games. So I could see this being outdrawn for sure. Do they sell out though because it's Vic and Jackson? I don't know. I don't know if they sell out. They could get close. Maybe all of the lower.
Not
bowls.
a sellout. No way a sellout. No way. If you thought it was a sellout, you wouldn't even have a pause if answering the question if a Temple game has more people.
I'm just saying, listen, Philly fans, nuts. We're nuts, okay? So,
By the way, Mick Abel's walks per 9, 5.4, 4.2, 4.7, 4, 5.2, 5.8, 5.1. Last year, 6.5. This year, 4.1 at the minor league level, 0.0 at the major league. So he's still walking 4 per 9 at the minor league level. That is not good. 4 per 9 is not good. All right, that's today's Nuggets. Are brought to you by the Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. He'll be live tomorrow with me over at the LPGA. So stop out and see us outside McGettigan's 19th hole. See you, Nuggets.
All right, see you tomorrow.
All right, there you go. More Sports Bash coming up. All right, 5 o'clock drive home. 9-1 Phils are down. Another run for the Blue Jays. Phils taking one on the chin today. They got beat last night in the ninth, and today they got beat from the get-go. It was not pretty early. Jesus Luzardo out of the game early. Another tough day for Luzardo, and his ERA is up into the 4s now. Heading to the 7th, by the way. 9-1 Blue Jays. Well, we don't have that to talk about because they're getting killed. We do have some other things, though. Ryan Rothstein's back. You can check out his stuff. He's a blogger and a podcaster, and, of course, part of the Sports Bash live right now on 97.3 ESPN as the Phils struggling along tonight or this afternoon, I should say. In Canada, what's up, man? Is the Phils a tough one late last night, which probably a lot of conversation based off last night's loss. Then you wrap in the way they're getting beat today. You just put it in a pot of stew and say, a lot of work this team needs.
Yeah, it feels that way. I mean, what a roller coaster ride this team's taking us on, right? It's like you don't know whether this reaction is overreaction, underreaction. I mean,
I don't think it's overreaction for this reason. We know the flaws of the team. It's a good team, but they beat up a lot of bad teams. So when now you're facing teams that are more on your level, your warts are starting to show. You know, if like you're a high school basketball team and you're scrimmaging your freshman team every day, you're running them off the court, you say, man, we look pretty good. Okay, well now move up and play a scrimmage against a varsity team and see how that looks. Oh, we made a lot of mistakes. Well, are we the team that beat the freshman team up, or are we the team that struggled against another varsity team? It's not that they can't compete. They just are showing some of their warts against better competition.
No, I think that's fair. It's a good analogy, but it's also you also say that and you think, okay, well, should we not evaluate the success just because they're winning these games on their schedule? I mean, I hear you, and you're right.
I do I get the argument you can only beat who's on your schedule, and if you don't win those games, you're going to be highly critical. Put it this way: if you don't beat those teams, you're not any good. The fact that you are beating them teams is the reason why you're good. But what level of good are you? Like, I think it's fair. Again, I'll go back to if I'm a big man and I'm playing the freshman team and their big man's 4 inches smaller than me and I'm just dominating them, okay, well, how are you going to do when the guy's staring at you eye to eye? Are you going to be able to score with as ease on someone the same size as you, or are you only scoring 20 a night because the guy defending you is 4 inches smaller than you? I think there is something to say about the competition level.
Yes, but let's also look at what they've done where, what was the stat I saw a couple of days ago where they've only had 2 losing streaks this season, and then after the first losing streak, they routed off 23 of 29. Like, listen, I don't care who you're playing. It's still tough to win 23 of 29. It's still tough to be at the top of the National League. I know it's still early. I know their schedule has not been the most grueling through a lot of their wins, but I think my point is you still see the potential. You still see the talent. You still see what they're capable of despite their opponent being 6 inches smaller, so to speak, right?
4. I said 4.
All right, 4 inches. Yeah, I'm exaggerating. I don't know, man. It's like, here's something I thought about. Mick Abel, very early in the Mick Abel era, but let's say he continues to have success with Nola out of the picture. Do you pick up the phone and try and move Nola to add to this team?
If you could trade Nola, you would. I don't think there's a scenario where anybody takes – I mean, I say anybody. You always throw the caveat is somebody. I just don't think anybody's interested in that contract, and now he's hurt and he wasn't pitching well. If he was 5-4 with an ERA of 4.29, which isn't great, but it's like, okay, he's Nola, maybe, but who's taking him at 1-6 with that contract right now, and now he's hurt?
He's still a good pitch. You still look at his resume, man, and I know he's not he's been highly criticized, sometimes unfairly in Philly by Phillies fans. But come on, you look at his resume, he's been a top pitcher in the NL. Like, this isn't a scrub. I know this year is not the best resume.
I have been higher on Nola than most over the years. I've always said the Nola coaster. I'm cool with the Nola coaster because I know what it is, and he's pitched well in some big moments. I just think you start to wonder, hey, he's not a power pitcher. He doesn't throw overly hard. Is he a guy that's starting to wear down a little bit? He's never really been hurt. Is there a lot of innings on those arms? And now all of a sudden he hurts his ankle, which was kind of a weird situation because he hurt the ankle, then he pitched twice with the ankle injury. Now he's trying to come back from the ankle injury. They said it should be a quick 15 days. That didn't happen. Now he's trying to come back from the ankle. Now he hurts his oblique in trying to come back from the ankle. Anything oblique and pitcher, I don't want any part of, man.
Yeah, fair. All right, let's take out Nola, and I'm going to also take out Ranger Suarez, because Ranger is a name that we've brought up and discussed even before Mick Abel has been brought up. Is there a name now, because of Mick Abel's insertion and possible success, that you say, okay, I'll pick up the phone now because of this?
Listen, I think Abel is a very interesting thing. We were just talking about him last hour. His minor league numbers are not impressive. He has been in the minors for 5 years. His ERA in those 5 years is 4.44. His walks per 9 in those 9 years, in those 5 years is 5.1. He walks 5 guys per 9 innings. That is not good. His ERA, not good. His WHIP, not good.
Yeah, but it starts so far in the big leagues. I don't care what he's done in the minors. You should factor it in, of course, but let's see if he can continue what he's doing up here.
Oh, I'm saying I'm not going to take the 2 starts right now and make a justification of this is who he is.
Of course.
I certainly need to see more, because guess what? I have 5 years of performances that say he's been an average pitcher at best. That's 94 starts in 5 minor league seasons in which he's gone 23 and 34 with a 4.44 ERA. That ain't good. I mean, and the walks per 9 has been what has killed him. Now, even this year in the minors, he's walking 4 guys per 9. Then miraculously, he's got 2 starts where he hasn't walked anybody. So I certainly am excited by what I've seen, but I certainly cannot make any ultimatum decision based on these 2 starts, because I have 94 minor league starts that suggest he's a different pitcher.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, my question has a huge asterisk attached to it, with the assumption if he starts 6 more times and he looks like this, then do you say, is that sample size enough? Even then, it might not be enough. Even then, everything you said might still hold true.
Listen, 1 year, look at the kid from, I go to Boston, the kid Brian Bayo. He was awesome the 1 year for the Red Sox. And they end up signing him to that big deal because, he had pitched really well. He looked like a top-of-the-rotation guy. And then all of a sudden, he has been terrible. I mean, he hasn't been good at all for them. But they made the decision based on his one season that he threw for them, and he kind of came out of nowhere for them. And he just, has not been very good since he signed that contract. And it was all based on the 1 year that he had where they were like, hey, this guy's the real deal. Let's sign him early. And he has been not good. I mean, that year that they signed him, he went 12 and 11 with a 4.24 ERA, which isn't like great, but they were like, hey, this guy looks like he's something. And then, I mean, this year and last year he's just been okay. He hasn't been great. He's just been okay. His WHIP is 150 this year, not great. So there's a lot of times where you make decisions even on 1 year, a full year, and you're wrong.
Yeah. No, it's tough, and I think it's fair. It's going to listen. These are all decisions. We've talked about so many different aspects and elements of what this team and what Dombrowski may or may not do, what he should do. He has some really tough decisions or phone calls that he should make or maybe should not make. Right? Like I would not want to be in his shoes.
I wouldn't either. I think he's got so many decisions to make. I mean, realistically, it feels a lot like where Daryl Morey is, where do I want to trade the pick? Do I want to keep the pick? Do I want to try to do this? He's got so many different options, and this team has so many holes. Look, I'm just watching Brandon Marsh just struck out again. His last time up, he hit a one-hopper back to the pitcher's mound, and this is against right-handed pitching, so he can't hit lefties, he can't hit righties. Last night, he drops that ball in center field. I mean, enough with this Brandon Marsh thing. They got to do something here. And listen, I know he's a popular player on the team. You're sighing at that?
I am a little bit, just because I agree with you, and something should be done. Maybe something will be done, but it's not like a priority to me. Like I look at this team and I say, I don't think Brandon Marsh is going to be the reason they don't get to where they need to get to. if Harper's an MVP, if Schwarber's a leader in all of baseball and home runs and doing what he does, if Trey Turner looks like the guy that he's looked like recently for the most part, the good version, right? Like those are the things that really matter. If Cassie can be the guy, those Alec Boehm, those are the guys, the impact players on this Phillies team that can get this team where they need to be. Wheeler and the rotation, right? Like I don't look at Brandon Marsh in the 8 or 9 hole as like, okay, he's going to be the talk of the town and the reason why this team fails and falls short.
I agree with that generally. You know, I do agree with that. Like, hey, you're blaming the 9-hole hitter because 3, 4, 5, 6 are not getting the job done. So now you're putting the spotlight on 9 because those guys are not doing their job, and now he's not doing his job. So now you're just kind of putting everybody in the mix. But to me, he has gotten so unplayable, like so unplayable, where he's, you know, in the years past, he hasn't killed you. He's been a part of it. He's hit like 270. He's had a little bit of power. This year, he is unplayably bad. He's not a good center fielder. If he's playing left field, maybe you can put up with it a little bit. He can't cover center field. He doesn't have the range in center field that the other guys got. He has no power right now. He's got 2 homers. You can't have a corner outfielder, and the Phillies have 2 of them right now that have less than 10 home runs. Actually, 3 of them. You throw Kepler in there, Castellanos in there, Marsh in there. They have no power in the outfield. He doesn't have enough range, no power, 219. Something's got to be done. At least Rojas offers defense, speed. Marsh offers none of that.
Is it fair to say, and I hate to be this guy, but you know, is it fair to say it's early? Like the points you made about Mick Abel, is it fair to say, all right, you know what, Marsh has had some ups and downs. He had an injury. Maybe he can be closer to the best version that we've seen of Marsh come, September, October when it matters, right? That can happen.
That's fair to say. I would say if you ask me to make a prediction, I don't see it turning around. This is a guy last year who hit 249. You were starting to show the signs of decline last year. Defensively, not as good. The year before, he hit 277 with a 372 on base. If he's that guy, we're not having this conversation. Last year, that dropped down to 249 with a 328 on base. Now, 219 with a 320 on base. Those numbers... Look, from 277 to 249, he dropped almost 30 points. Now he's dropping almost 30 points again. So it's been a 30-point drop in his average the last 2 seasons. That, to me, sadly, is who he is becoming.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. All right, we'll put the pause on the Phillies talk for a minute there. I want to switch gears. I want to get to Jalen Hurts before we get to some other quick topics.
Ooh.
Jalen Hurts. What version of Jalen Hurts will we see this upcoming season, right? And I bring this to the table because, one, I looked at the MVP odds for the upcoming year in the NFL. Jalen Hurts, 17-1. Jaden Daniels, plus 750, for example. I also saw Jalen Hurts' season totals, passing yards, set at 3,200 and a half. Last year, he had 2,900. And I almost say if he gets over 3,200, that's not a good thing for the Eagles. We want him to be under 3,200. And maybe you sigh at that comment. Maybe you say, no, Jalen Hurts can be an elite passer and sling it for 3,800 yards like we've seen in the past. What do you think of all that? What's your prediction on Jalen Hurts, the passer, this upcoming year?
I think he will throw for more this year because I think they have to run Saquon Barkley less. I mean, you can't ask him to run as much as he did last year. Those attempts, every time we look at the attempts number and go to other guys who have had that many attempts, the next year, they're basically worthless. I mean, we saw it with DeMarco Murray. We've seen it with guys like Sean Alexander. We've seen all of these high-volume carry backs have a big carry season and then kind of fade out. I don't want to see that from Saquon Barkley. The question is, do the Eagles need Saquon Barkley to touch the ball as much as he did last year to be successful? Or do they say, we don't need you that much. Let's do it a different way. And I think the Eagles, they don't need Saquon to do what he did last year again, and therefore I would take the over on Jalen Hurts on that number.
That's fair. And if that's the case, man, one guy that I think could and will have a huge year, Devontae Smith. And I still feel like he gets massively overlooked because of A.J. Brown, because of Saquon last year. You look at Devontae Smith, for example, his season total for receiving yards only set at 850. Like, this is a guy that's capable of 1,400 receiving yards in a season. if you really wanted him to get that. This is, I mean,
Absolutely.
I think if we sling it a little bit more, if the Eagles sling it a little bit more, I think Devontae can easily get back to that 1,000 receiving yards type of wide receiver this year. You agree?
Yep. I agree. No, listen, he could have 1,800 yards. Yeah, much like Barkley had 2,000. He could probably be that kind of player if you needed him to.
Yeah, and I think they should start to, try and figure out how do we make him more of a star. Don't force it. But I don't you feel like he's almost underutilized at times? Listen, we're Super Bowl champs. It doesn't matter. But
all those guys are under your. Absolutely, exactly. It's like we have this vision in our head of what a number one receiver's numbers should look like, and he didn't have them because he's essentially on a team that doesn't need to do it. Who cares if he had 900 yards? What's the difference if they won the Super Bowl? Would we complain? Probably.
No, well,
we probably would.
Yeah, as long as we win the Super Bowl, we're not complaining about anything. But yeah, you're right. It's just that version in our head of, man, we see what we have, and it could be so much more. But I hope Devontae has a little bit bigger of a year this upcoming year for sure. All right, I want to get to Aaron Rodgers while we have a few minutes. Two more quick things. Aaron Rodgers, the hype on Aaron Rodgers, he finally now becomes official with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Your thought on Aaron going up North PA?
I think it's a waste for Pittsburgh. I mean, it's not a Super Bowl level team. Why the drama? He's shown, is he a good quarterback still? Good, maybe. Not great. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He couldn't elevate that Jets team to anything more than a bad football team. And he played okay, and yet he still couldn't elevate that team. Now, that Pittsburgh team has a pretty good defense. The Jets were supposedly a team with a really good defense. He just is not the same player, and he brings the drama. If I'm Pittsburgh, a team that generally is drama-free, I don't see why they make this move.
Yeah, I'm shocked. It seems like they were like, all right, well, it's the only thing that we can do. We got to do something. But listen, if Mike Tomlin can't get it right with him, if he can't get him in line and can't squeeze out any last bit of talent and elite quarterback play that he has left in his body, then it's clear as day that he's washed. And I think he's more trending towards washed than anything else.
I would agree. And listen, on top of that, not only is he washed, he's a pain in the ass to deal with. I mean, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know why you would want to deal with that.
They just traded away someone that was a pain in the ass. They traded away George Pickens because he was allegedly a locker room guy, and they bring in the king of pain in the asses and Aaron Rodgers to lead this offense in this locker room. So, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I'm not sure what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. All right, we'll end on this. NBA Finals, Game 1 tonight, baby. Let's go. The Thunder, massive favorites, and rightfully so. But I tell you what, man, I think the Pacers can win this bad boy outright tonight. I really do. I think OKC. Listen, OKC is a young team. Let's not forget they're humans as well. All right, nerves is a real thing. Game 1s are unpredictable. How do you see tonight playing out? I'm picking the Pacers in a big upset.
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, it gives me Sixer vibes, right? The year they played the Lakers and you went to L.A., you stole the game, you step over Lou, and then that's all that you got in that series. I don't think it's that drastic of a matchup, though, where the Lakers were just so superior to the Sixers. I don't think that Oklahoma City is so superior to the Pacers. But It wouldn't shock me if they went in there and stole this game and then got swept the rest of the way.
Yeah, the one thing that scares me that's been brought up a lot is the 2 games in the regular season, which I don't know how much weight you have to factor into, but the Pacers really struggled against the Thunder. Halliburton really struggled. He couldn't get anything going. I think he had like 7 points, a bunch of turnovers. That scares me because that defense by OKC is just overwhelming.
Yeah, well, we'll have it tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. It is Game 1 of the NBA Finals. We'll be all over that. And, of course, we'll talk about it tomorrow here on the Sports Bash. All right, man. Tex.
Peace.
All right, there you go. Ryder side for today here on the Sports Bash Live. When we come back, we'll talk a little NBA Finals. We'll get some more takes on the NBA Finals and the NBA in general. Is it changing right before our very eyes? By the way, Phil's down 9-1 here in the 8th inning. We'll have an update on that a little bit later on. But next, we'll talk to Keith Smith on the NBA Finals. That's next on the Sports Bash.
ownership pay? Because that's always been a question of are they too cheap to pay a big tax bill, or are they willing to pay and go? We saw several ownership groups were willing to pay the big tax bill. So now where we're at with these teams is what happens is with these roster restrictions around. You're pretty much, if you're a second apron team, you're signing your own free agents, you're signing minimum contracts, and you're signing your draft picks. And that's about it. Trades are really hard to make. At least any trades that aren't, downgrading your roster can be really difficult. So that gets really hard. And we're in a spot where you can't sit above that line for too long, because then you get into frozen draft picks and all the other things that come with that. So I think you're going to see more teams go with the approach of let's try to build it up organically through the draft, through smart acquisitions earlier in guys' career. We'll re-sign a couple of our guys, and then we'll cycle through the rest of the spots on these mid-range and value contracts, because that's going to be how you're going to have to do it if you want to have any kind of staying power as a team. Teams will be able to build up for a year or two and then kind of disappear. But, if you want to have staying power, you're going to have to be really smart about the way you build out your roster.
Everybody talks about Halliburton, but the trade they made for Pascal Siakam, 2023, 2024, that trade deadline, OG goes to New York. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Pascal Siakam goes to Indiana. At that time, Philadelphia, hey, they ended up with Buddy Hield, and now you see the mess that they've turned into. But did you look at that Pascal Siakam trade as one that was as impactful as it turned out to be?
I didn't know whether it was going to lift them into the NBA Finals, but I loved that trade for them when they made it, because I thought, all right, they gave up some draft capital, but if you're a good team, you gave up picks that are going to be a little bit lower in the round anyway, so you're not too worried about that. They had kind of a full roster as it was, so giving up an extra pick here and there wasn't the end of the world. So I really thought they did quite well in that trade when they made it. It's just turned out to be even better than what I thought it was, but that's a great point of how they've built this roster. It's been the Tyrese Halliburton was acquired by trade. Great trade for them there. Aaron Nesmith came in a trade for Malcolm Brogdon. Great trade there. Siakam came in a trade. Nembhard was a second-round pick. Miles Turner's been there for a decade now, and we've had him in nothing but trade rumors for the last 7 or 8 years, and he hasn't gone anywhere. And then they built up their depth through smart free agent signings and, again, through the draft and a couple smaller acquisitions. Really, really smartly built roster in Indiana.
Do you look at that team with staying power? Do you think this is a fly-by-night? I mean, I know the rules make it tough. You just said, you might be hanging out for a year, but is this a team that has the staying power?
Yeah, I think they do to some extent. They don't know that they're going to be finals level, but I think they're going to be a very good team for years to come, because Halliburton and Siakam are already signed long-term. They're going to be there for at least the next 3 years or so. Their only free agent to note is Miles Turner. They've given every indication that they will pay the luxury tax next year, and they can go into the tax without getting too close to the aprons, which is really what becomes the real challenge. And as long as they're willing to go into the tax to re-sign Miles Turner, they've got a good, deep team, and I think they've done a good job, too, developing talent, like a guy like Ben Shepherd, who's been coming along and even closing and playing late minutes over Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers. That's been huge, because what that's going to allow them to do when Mathurin becomes a free agent, that starts to be, to re-sign him, now we're going to be really close to the apron and the like. And if they don't want to do that, they can let him move on and feel pretty good about, all right, we'll plug Shepherd in to his role until it's time to re-sign him. And that's going to be how you're going to play it out. But so I do think they have definitely some staying power as one of the teams to beat in the East.
All right, we're talking with Keith Smith, SpotTrack.com, the NBA Finals right here on 97.3 ESPN. A lot of things we looked at, Maxey and Halliburton, and that, because really, I think a lot of people really thought Maxey, a lot of people here think the Sixers should build around Maxey. A lot of people want, Embiid traded, build around Maxey. Could you build around Maxey similar to the way the Pacers have built around Halliburton? Do you see that as a possibility? Is Maxey, in your mind, not a guy that you can really build a team around?
I think you could if you can show improved playmaking, because otherwise, it's great to have a really good scorer, but it's hard to build a team around somebody who their primary thing that they do, and really the only thing they do is score. You do need them to be able to do something else, and that's the thing with Halliburton. He lifts the team because of his playmaking ability. But I think you could get there if Maxey shows that improved playmaking ability. The challenge is for the next several years, you've got Embiid and George, and you're going to have to work around that. And it sounds great to say trade them, but I don't know who's jumping forward with, hey, here we go, let's give you the real kind of offer. And if you trade them, you're probably trading them either guy at a loss right now, and then that's going to set you back. And by the time you're kind of building back up, now Maxey's contract is up, and where is he going to be? So that's the challenge with the way things are built right now. If you said, hey, just build everything around Maxey. That said, I think you need to go into next season with the idea of, hey, Embiid and George, you're still the guys, don't get us wrong, but you're going to have to play a little bit less of a role as we cede some of the responsibility to Tyrese Maxey, because he's the guy we feel a little bit more confident about being here as we build this thing up long term.
Keith, you mentioned George and Embiid. I'll kind of bring it back to those two about trade. I get the texts all the time. People, you got to move those guys. My answer is they have no value. There is no trade. Would you be shocked if Daryl Morey was able to move either one of those guys on draft night?
It's funny. After the Luka trade, none of this shocks me anymore. Like that was just so bonkers that it's like, I don't know anymore that anything. I used to always say, well, they're not going to do that. And now I'm like, I don't know anymore. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong on all this stuff. But I would be pretty surprised simply because I don't know who's jumping forward to say we want those guys. One, big contracts, hard to match the salary to get them. And then when you have the very long, lengthy, serious injury history for both players, that can be really, really hard for a team to convince themselves, hey, this is the guy. Now, what's funny is it could be a team, if they really wanted to go in that direction, a team like Oklahoma City that could say, yeah, you know what, we'll trade for Joel Embiid because what we can do is if he only plays 40 games, we're deep enough and talented enough that it's not going to kill us because we have the ability. Now, I certainly don't think that's where they're headed because they've got other issues with signing guys on their own team that they're going to have to figure out long term. But those are the situations where it's going to be a team that's like, man, we fell short of our goal and we need somebody to push us over the top. And they feel like that's the way. But I don't think that's coming, at least not this summer.
One thing is the Sixers do have pick 3. At this stage with what they have, the George and Embiid kind of albatross contracts, is it more beneficial to pick at 3 or try to get a player and take your shots with those two guys now while you're hopeful that they're healthy? I mean, do you pick a player who might not be ready to help you this year, or is it more beneficial to say, you know what, I got Joel, I got Paul, I got to hope they're healthy, but I got to get a better player. I can't get a rookie. I can't depend on a pick.
Yeah, that is a tough one because of where they're at, right? This team is very much built to win now. They're not built to let's kind of slow play this and build it up. But on the flip side, because of those guys' injury histories, I do think you look at it a little bit and say, you know what, we need to get more depth in here, and we need to be prepared for what happens, if they don't ever make it back. And then that way we have somebody, and they're uniquely positioned because of the way the lottery went to get that player this year. They're not going to get a true game changer franchise guy. At least it doesn't look like that. But they're still going to get a really good player to come in. And I think that part's really important. And you can convince me of a world where it's like, all right, we'll trade back with Brooklyn, pick up some additional draft assets, and maybe get a player in a trade like that where, maybe if they could get like Cam Johnson or somebody who comes in, now all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're in pretty good shape here. We move back a little bit, but we'll still get a good player, and we got a good player who can help us right now. That kind of move makes sense. Just to completely trade out of the pick for a veteran guy, it'd have to be the real right guy. And I don't know who's trying to jump in to get up to 3. Had they moved up to 1 or 2, yeah, absolutely. You'd have teams kind of clamoring to get up there. But 3, 4, they're going to get a good player there. But I just don't know that it's going to be, hey, here's this great win-now veteran because we're starting over. I'm not sure that that's on the table.
Yeah, we'll see how they play this. What do you think about I think you tweeted this out about a month ago, or I should say a week ago, about Oklahoma City and the fact that, I mean, this team, you're almost in a position where you're so good and you have so many assets, you don't know I don't even know where you go from here if you're them.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I've seen a lot of people, the response to that, which I think is almost a coping mechanism, is, yeah, but they're going to be too expensive to keep that team together starting next year. And that's simply not true. They still have Holmgren and Williams, two really good players, for one more year on their rookie scale deals. Then they'll get them on their probably max or close to max deals after that. And then you got one more year with Gilgeous-Alexander. Then he'll move in to that range. So I think what you're looking at here is really you got at least a couple more year window where this team's going to be pretty affordable, but then they'll start to get expensive. But as they get expensive, then that's when it'll be, all right, it might be guys like Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe that move on. But because they have this bounty of draft picks, they'll just use those draft picks to draft the next guy. The other thing is with all the extra picks, it's a little like when the Patriots were in their heyday where Bill Belichick always seemed to have an extra pick. Then he traded that pick for a pick the year after and a pick down the line and kind of kicked the can down the road. And then that way you always kind of have that extra pick coming. And that's what I think you're going to see Sam Presti do, because their most immediate concern is they don't have enough roster spots. Unless they can convince the NBA to say, yeah, you can roster 25 guys, and that's not going to be a thing. They're going to have to start a little bit of consolidation. But they are set up better than a lot of other teams to extend this run, and open this window a lot wider than I think what we're thinking about with a lot of these other groups that are out there that are coming forward.
Well, you just made the point. I mean, they have so many draft choices on the horizon. You got to make choices on who stays and who goes, but because you're going to draft all these guys, there's not enough roster spots for everybody, and they're all high-end picks. I mean, they're all first. They got a lot of second-round picks too, but what, they have 10 first-round picks the next 3 years?
I don't know if it's quite that many in the next 3 years. It could be. There's a couple in there that are like, if this happens, then this. But yeah, they are loaded with a bunch of extra picks through the next few years. But yeah, I mean, they're in a position where, and that's the other thing too. Let's say we get into a spot where it's like, man, I really want player X, is somebody I really want to go get. Then what I think you're looking at is they can say, all right, what do you need? You need 3 first-round picks? You need 4 first-round picks? And they can do it without, a lot of these other teams are looking at it and say, man, that's going to be all of my draft capital. They can do it without blinking an eye because it's like, man, we're fine. We're okay. And then, there you go. So they're really set up quite well for making this a good long run.
Big time. Keith Smith, SpotTrack.com. Let's hit on a couple things. Number one, prohibitive favorite, Oklahoma City. Are you leaning that way? Can the Pacers make this a fun, entertaining series? Can they win it?
I think the Pacers are going to make this a competitive, long series, and I think they're going to be in these games. I think Oklahoma City's just enough better than the Pacers that they will win. My pick has been Thunder in 6 because that's what I feel like it's going to be. It would not shock me if it was like Thunder in 5, but all the games were pretty good ones. I just think they're just enough better than the Pacers. But the Pacers counteract some of the Thunder strengths really well. Ball handling, multiple playmakers, not turning the ball over a ton. That's huge against the Thunder. So I think they'll be able to stay in games, but I do think the Thunder are going to win.
Tom Thibodeau fired makes sense. Don't understand it. See the forest through the trees here.
I would not have done it. I think it's a little premature for them, and I think they're kind of placing blame on him when they didn't exactly give him a roster that's designed to win the way he has won games. That said, it seems like they felt like, he's not the guy. And I think teams too often will be like, well, we can't do this because it'll look bad, or we shouldn't. And then it gets really ugly, and it never gets any better. So I kind of, if you've decided it's not the guy, make the move and do your thing. And I think now we'll see where they go forward with this.
That's an interesting one. Phoenix just hired a coach, Jordan Ott. He will be the new head coach in Phoenix. And most people, I bring this up because I think most people listening are probably like, Jordan Ott, never heard of a guy, don't know who he is. It's almost as like Tom Thibodeau is from we talked about in the beginning of this conversation. The league is changing, and Thibodeau is part of the former kind of, world of basketball. And I agree with you, their roster probably not deep enough, but is he willing to evolve and change as a coach to this new style of basketball? The LeBrons, the Currys, the KDs, the Kawhis, they feel like they are kind of phasing out and this new era's coming in. And are these coaches from the previous regimes the right ones to take over? And I think the Knicks said, you know what? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're right with that. I think we're starting to look at the NBA a little bit of, it is a changing of the guard. A lot of the guys who've been around for for, in LeBron's case, a couple decades now, but the other guys, decade and a half, those guys are starting to age out. It's taking a lot longer than we thought with some of them, but we're finally kind of getting to that point, and the league's got a lot of young talent. The new second apron rules are so tricky to work around for if you're going to be a really expensive team in those things. And I think now what you're looking at is these younger coaches that maybe are a little bit more adaptable and aren't locked into this is how we play, this is how I'm going to do it. Those guys, we're just in that pendulum swing where we're on that side of it. Let's get some fresh blood in here. And I will say with Jordan Ott, it's kind of funny. Now, known Michigan State guy, Matt Ishbia, who owns the Suns, now his general manager from Michigan State, head coach from Michigan State. So just, we're definitely got to get some connections happening there.
If Keith Smith was in Daryl Morey's shoes right now, is this a spot you would relish to be in, or do you think this is a mess?
It's a mess, but that makes it a spot to relish to be in. This is kind of, a challenge to do this. Now, it's always a little harder when you're cleaning up your own mess, than the other guy coming in and cleaning up somebody else's. So if I didn't make the mess, I'm happy to come in and do what I can do. But I think Daryl Morey probably, I think he probably likes this challenge of, all right, how am I going to get this team back on track? How am I going to build, them back up? And, again, you get this unique opportunity with a really great draft pick, and they've got some interesting guys on the roster. They can, try to figure some stuff out. But I think they're going to give it one more run with the bulk of the guys they have, and then we'll see. I think next summer becomes the real kind of decision point if Embiid and George can't get on the floor consistently.
Well, that's going to be a big key, as we all know that. We'll see how it all unfolds. The NBA Draft, June 25th, right here on 97.3 ESPN, the NBA Finals. Keith Smith is at Keith Smith NBA on the Twitter X platform, and you can check out all of his stuff over at SpotTrack.com. Thank you, Keith.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, thanks to Keith Smith here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. All right, we will get out of here tonight. Before we get to the Bet365 play of the day, Josh, give us an update on what's happening with this Phillies game. It's behind me over here, so let all the people know what's happening with this Phillies game.
Well, the good news is the game is over, Mike. The Phillies officially have now lost 9-1. They somehow decided to score one run today. So they end up losing 2 straight in Toronto as they leave Canada with more losses than they probably hoped for.
All right, very good. Good stuff there. Keep an eye on that, as always. And, of course, we'll have reaction with a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat tomorrow on the Sports Bash. But don't forget NBA Finals tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. It's the Pacers and the Thunder. And I'm going to get back into I'm going to jump back into the NBA. I think we had a winner last night, Josh. How we do? Now, one of the games was void. For some reason, I don't know how I didn't pick this up. The game that I picked was already played, so that one is voided out. But I did play 2 games last night on the Bet365 play of the day. Josh, how'd we do?
Yeah, you won last night, Micah. The Giants broke a 7-game losing streak to San Diego Padres, so because of that, you are now 176, 118, and 1.
176, 118, and 1. Somehow the Rockies swept the Marlins, by the way. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, Bet365 play of the day. I'm going back to the NBA Finals tonight, which you can hear right here on 97.3 ESPN. I like the over tonight, 230.5. Give me the over tonight. OKC and the Pacers. By the way, the number is -9.5. On the number, it's over under 230.5 is the over under tonight. I'm going to go over that number. I know that sounds a little high, but I'm going over the number tonight. All right, that's it for me. Got a happy hour Friday tomorrow. Mike McGarry and Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat, Friday 5. All that and more. Have a great night, everybody. NBA Finals coming up after game night right here on 97.3 ESPN.
This is the NBA Finals.
Halliburton buries a bomb.
When you get to this point of the season, it's 2 teams and it's one goal. It becomes an all or nothing thing.
Chase Gilgeous-Alexander buries